And they're off. It's another ClevelandMoto Podcast. And to my immediate left,
Oscar.
And
Dan Krupke.
And
Steve Hoffer.
And
Johnny Mac.
We're just going to call you Johnny Many Bottles tonight. You brought all the bottles. Holy shit. And
Nicole Willis.
new participant.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you for
Came
having
along
me.
with
Chris Smith.
and
Michael.
and on the boards.
Steve Sleepy.
And to my right,
Merritt Waters.
long time no see. So yeah, and your humble narrator, Phil Waters. And we have got big news. We made a plea last week to our podcast listeners, and we said, does anybody have any way that we can coerce Amazon S3 to release the lost episodes? Al Capone's vault was sealed. We could not get back our own intellectual property of 90 some odd episodes. When we switched over to Buzzsprout, we lost a whole bunch of episodes.
Although, Phil,
Yeah.
I don't know if it could be called intellectual property.
Yeah,
Property,
it's true.
maybe.
Property nonetheless. Yeah. Wasted bandwidth all around. Nights we'll never get back. Many nights spent in the basement of Dustin's house in the 45 garage.
Cracklecast and all those nice episodes.
All the good stuff.
Imagine,
Yeah, so we had a lot of stuff. I mean, we had something along the order of 180 hours. And two, not one, but two of our listeners dug deep and dug really deep. And so they somehow, and I don't know why they would do this, but they had the episodes. And they had them on hard drives, and they had them on stick drives, and they had them hidden in computers they hadn't used for years.
Really?
Yeah. And the nice thing is, these guys were good enough.
For the NSA?
Right, exactly. So Tim Norman and Fred Mural, these two guys get a very fucking hearty thank you because they have both of them. And that's the first time we've ever applauded for anybody on this fucking podcast.
That'll never
Because
happen again.
these guys had all of the episodes.
Wow.
Now, what kind of fucking tragic lives do they lead? But yeah, they had all of the, like, who's going to go, you know what would make me feel better? Cleveland in the winter.
Yeah.
Let's pull up a nice 2012 vintage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 76.
Oh, the greatest
classic.
ever. And
So did they get a free shop? A free shop? Right?
we're sending them both. We're sending them both gift boxes.
Okay.
So Renee's
Nice.
on top of that. She's already
Nice.
set it off to Tim Norman. Now Tim was able to upload his digitally by using my Google Drive, and so we've already gone onto our podcast and we've already uploaded episode 2. So the very second episode that we ever recorded in Dustin's basement has already hit the airwaves as of tonight. And what I'm going to do is every week I'm going to add to our regular podcast, I'm going to add one from the vaults, and they're going to go in order. So as we proceed from episode 278 forward, we're also going to be proceeding from episode 2 forward. Now, what about episode 1? No, it's going to be a special thing. We're going to make you do something stupid for it. So we're going to hold back episode 1, and there's going to be some kind of silly contest or something. But
I want to do
somebody's.
something stupid for it. I'd like to hear episode 1.
So episode 1 is going to be. We're going to hold back until we figure out. So if you're a podcast listener and you come up with some kind of interesting game or interesting plot or horrible thing, you
Like
can
a
make
dare.
some. It's a dare.
It's a
It
dare.
really
pretty
is.
much.
It's a dare. It's a prize and a punishment all in one. But I did listen to it. It does sound
Or
excellent.
double punishment, whatever.
Or double punishment. It's true. So when you're done listening to this podcast, go ahead and hit it and download podcast number, the dose. And you can hear that. I did kind of go forward a little bit, and about episode number 8, we do our Scooter Cast. And the Scooter Cast was one of the first podcasts where we truly went off the rails. And yeah, it's a good to hear that we were still in fine form back in March of 2011. So it's not a new thing. You know,
Yeah.
we had good game back then too. So that's fantastic. And I put the word out for all of our patrons, you know, guys, to know about that. That's up there. So couldn't be happier. That's Christmas, man. That's it. You get all those podcasts came out of the woodwork. So thanks, podcast listeners,
Beautiful.
and thanks to Fred Merle and Tim Norman. You guys rock the free
Feliz
world.
Navidad.
Yeah. Oh, for real, man. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Speaking of Christmas,
Yeah.
I got everybody something for Christmas, but I thought, you know what, you guys could probably use these things the whole season because it's kind of apropos.
Okay.
So hold on. There's one for you.
Oh, we got Christmas gifts.
Yep,
Oh,
one for you.
It feels like the front reflector for a Vespa GTS 250, front left reflector. All right.
I think you get
Hold on.
All right. All
I
right.
got something with on the mail. Actually,
Mike,
didn't make
Chris.
it in.
Well, I didn't bring any gifts. This-
There we go.
All right. All right. This is Black Friday. Black Friday, guys. Mine's got cats on it. Hey, I got a gun. Oh, I got a cap gun. I get it.
Yeah. It's a beer opener,
yeah,
and then you
all
can
right.
shoot the beer can.
Excellent. Yeah, all right. All right. Here we go.
And they're off.
And they're up again.
There you go.
Well, Meckel Fresh is notorious for being able to open a bottle at 700 feet per second.
Right.
So this is gonna put a new
Boy,
yeah,
all right.
a new sizzle. The cap guns. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Steve Hofford is so put upon sitting next. We're going to separate these guys like elementary school kids. We're going to put one in the
In each
front
corner,
row,
yeah.
one in the back row.
This is actually set up to open the bottle and
I'm getting a
Yeah, right.
pull
Yeah.
that first.
Yeah,
Pull that
it's
first.
There's a little metal deal.
Would you say that it's self-loading,
it is?
It's automatic.
auto loader.
I don't know.
semi-automatic?
My own.
It's something to shoot at you.
Are there rules for this in certain states? Because it is an auto loader. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you cock it, load it, and shoot it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well designed.
Thanks, Lippy.
God bless
problem.
those Chinese.
They're
always just looking out
be
for
allowed
our
to take
fun.
those to school?
No.
No. It resembles a gun.
It was
So,
made by kids, so
Not
it's-
even the
it's
fact
fair
that it
game,
only
right?
shoots bottle caps. The shape alone that it does mimic that of a firearm is enough to mean it's
Just tell them to carry it upside down.
I thought it
exactly.
was a pipe.
It's a pipe. Yes, I'm going to smoke.
That's
way better.
No toy.
Not allowed to take those to school.
Right.
What about the
You
can of
got to cock it
cigarettes?
first,
Come on.
Steve. Cock it first.
All right, Steve, here we go.
All right, here we go. We're going to test it. All right,
dang.
John's going to.
Careful with that.
John, you have to cock it before you cock it before you rock it.
Misfire.
All right, there you go.
Fuck you.
Fantastic. Great. That's
Good job, Steve.
Way to distract the group. Yay, Steve.
A gun cast.
Oh yeah.
But you
Again?
see all the new shotguns that are coming out that are like very similar to this, the shorties.
Oh, no.
14-inch barrel.
Really?
Derringer
Handle like
shotguns.
this,
Yeah.
and they're in a gray area.
The Persuaders, are they pistols or are they shotguns?
They're somewhere in between.
They're somewhere in between.
faulty?
5-shot,
Yeah.
If they were to scale
20
about a
gauge,
4
12
barrel.
gauge.
Oh, pump action. Yeah.
7 or 8
Wanna
shot.
try this out?
With shorties.
Interesting.
I believe it goes like that.
So in the grand nepotistic way that there you go that our podcast operates,
No, she's not.
God, damn.
Down goes Kromke.
hit by friendly fire at the podcast.
A couple rounds of buckshot in his ass.
So we all know that Steve Hofford has a habit for buying things more than I do. And this week he
Not
made
more than you.
this week he made a purchase that I'm going to give 100% ringing endorsement to. He bought my high ace.
Congratulations.
And most of the people sitting at this table know that high ace has good heart and is a rowdy spirit.
Yeah, buddy.
And there is no part of AMA Vintage Days that will win, or John's camper.
Yeah.
Yeah, the high ace will extract John's camper from the mud, despite its lowly little 2.9 liter diesel engine.
Quite
I
handling.
extracted about 20 pounds of mud from the high ace.
Oh, you got Mid Ohio remnants. Yeah,
Yeah.
it smelled like Mid Ohio, Mud Ohio. Yeah, we did some good work. We did some honest good work at Mid Ohio with that high ace, and so now Steve's going to use it for his business.
I remember when you first got it, we were off-roading with Johnny Mack and a full set of
I think there were nine
Hooligans,
of
yeah.
us in there.
Yep.
We had 9 people and something on the order of
Chrome. Yep.
2,300 pounds
Yep.
inside the van, and it was no problem. Yeah, just lifting up anything. So super fun. So he's got the high ace now. So,
Thank you very much.
dude, thank you.
I always wanted a Toyota diesel.
And it was great for me to finally tell a Facebook Marketplace buyer, nah, dude. Yeah, you dicked around too long, it's sold. Oh, yeah, if you would have called yesterday, you'd have been in business. But see, today you called to negotiate. But Steve showed up with money. So, yeah, I invite you to fuck your hat. So let
Period, new paragraph.
the hat fucking commence. So that was it was fantastic. So I couldn't be happier than to sell it to Steve. So that's good. And he knows he's getting a 10-year warranty, so that's all.
You know, I only have one complaint. The radio is way too complicated for me.
It
There's no dials
is
on
it is a screen. There's no dials at all.
No.
It is all just plug things in and press things.
Yeah,
But it
it's-
will automatically sync to your Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just want AM.
Or
You have to stream that through.
AM radio. We'll just put a knob in the middle of it, Steve. We'll actually just tape a battery-powered AM radio to the dashboard, so you're not bothered by all that
the antenna
Bluetooth.
all the way to the mirror.
So weird. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Tonight's podcast topic for anyone who wants to participate: since it is Black Friday, and around here at the shop we had amazing Black Friday. We had a full staff. We were ready. We were geared up. We got a new roof on the building just for Black Friday. If you'll notice, all of our ceiling tiles are the same color. We no longer
shit.
have black mold.
Yeah, all that.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. And we swept and mopped because all the ceiling tiles had exfoliated, all of their exfoliations. This place was covered in fiberglass because ceiling tiles like to leak. And we took down about 140 ceiling tiles and replaced them. It was big fun. Oh, wait a second. What is this? Shit, Scarlet Fire, a toasty red ale. I'm sorry, it's a roasty red ale. And it's got some sort of a harlot on it.
Scarlet Harlot.
Scarlet Harlot, yeah. No, she's got hops coming off of her attire. She's shooting hops off of her lower body. That's not a good sign. You can spray for that. But
We saw her at Theater Bazaar.
I think we did see her. at the
Probably.
other side. Yeah, that's exactly right.
That sounds about right.
You got hit by some hop shrapnel.
At least take a whiff.
Oh, we're gonna take a whiff
I
already.
shot hops a couple
Oh,
times.
that's right on the computer.
Village.
Yeah,
Back in college, when you do
it's a ThinkPad. It can handle it.
a funnel and you shoot hops back up and it's still ice cold.
I'm still finishing this one.
Oi.
Oh, that is
Oy vey.
delicious. So they call that an Irish red ale. Yeah, that's good. That's not a PBR. You can try that, Merritt.
All right, thanks.
Pass that along. So yeah, big fun. So we had all decorated. I put ribbons on some of the scooters. Hey, it's Renee.
But wait, there's more.
We have an extra microphone just for Renee. It's the Badger phone.
Extra parking spot. It is max.
No, we are maxed out. Yeah,
I had
this
to park
is-
on the street over there.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Dang.
this is a 10-player podcast? This is pretty big.
This is challenging.
Yeah, right. Mike did his part and rode his motorcycle here in the fucking cold. You did your
34
part, rode
degrees.
your passport, right?
It's not even cold
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that, oh yeah, Mike shows up. Oh, it's not cold. The weather's great.
Did you ride
It's
your
fantastic.
motorcycle
35
here?
degrees.
Oh, yeah.
Just,
In this outfit.
yeah, they just didn't put any salt on for you
You
yet.
have like 20 layers on you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Do you have heated grips on your bike?
I do.
Good man.
There you go.
Good man. He's not a savage.
He's civilized. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
it's a talking
so we
podcast.
had this whole heated grips and warm weather, cold weather thing, whatever, months ago before it got cold. So Revit and probably other brands, they are doing this cool glove that's, I'm not going to say it's induction in the palms and stuff, but they have gone to the extent to like pad out the back and make sure that's all thermally challenged. But the palm is pretty thin. But I've noticed that if I just get my palm well seated onto my grip, it pulls heat to all the ends of my fingers through these gloves. I got these things secondhand, so I don't know anything about them, to be honest.
Wow.
But it's the only pair of gloves I've had like that on my heated grips where it just starts to like pull it. And I thought, you know what? With all the wireless charging they're doing on phones and stuff,
Right.
why is that a problem?
You're right.
Instead of
I agree.
the battery pack glove and the dot or whatever,
Yeah.
why not?
Why not have the heater element
The
pull power from the
induction
grip?
somehow in your
Right.
thing.
That's interesting. Yeah, an inductive charger.
Conductive through the palm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these gloves, they have some kind of,
material.
yeah, whatever it is.
Boy, that's really interesting.
But I mean, I had them on one.
Yeah.
And normally with my other gloves, I have to do 2, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
It's only in the 30, so it's not bad yet. But I mean, it's almost uncomfortable at one. It was crazy. I
Yeah.
turned them off. Actually, when I got off the freeway, I turned them off.
And that is the thing. If you're wearing really thick gloves, you're losing some of the benefit of your heated grips.
100%. And you can't
Yeah.
feel anything.
Right.
Anyway, we've been all through.
So-
You need like thin on the palm,
Right.
But like a sheet of foil on the backside.
Well,
of
and
your
that's
hand
why
to
a
get
lot
stuff
of-
in.
that might be what's going on in these things.
And a lot of companies do make a glove cover. So the bottom, you can keep a nice thin riding glove and then just have this cover that basically becomes a mitten. So it's going to stop the air and retain your heat. And it's just a weird looking mitten that goes over your
like the
existing
claw,
riding
like
glove.
the
Like
Euro
crab
stitch
claw.
claw.
Yeah. So I mean that's a thing that exists out there,
I don't
and so yeah, I mean it's a big thing. Today we celebrated our Black Friday. We had exactly 2 visitors and no customers.
Insane.
Yeah. So our cash register, spider webs intact.
We had the same cash
Yeah.
flow at our brothers today.
Yeah. Yeah. We pitched a perfect no hitter. It was great, and yet the rest of the world is you can't get near it.
It was
So-
fun to drive
You
around
mean you
in
did?
traffic.
But
though.
did you offer to sell brand new scooters for $100?
We did offer to sell. Renee put out a what you call it. She put out a constant contact to over 3,000 people that had Fulmer helmets at $49, which is $30 below cost, and Fulmer jackets for $79, which is $59, right? $59, which is $30 below cost.
That's impressive.
Yeah. You know, I'm giving you $30 for the privilege of showing up and taking away some of my inventory. And with a kiss on the cheek and $30 of my money in your pocket, 0 people showed up to fuck me. So it's nice to know you're loved.
I'd have fucked you for just a kiss on the cheek.
Oh, you mashed
So technically, when you're actually giving it away at a loss, you're not going to, I mean, that's it. So people were too busy, you know, fighting their way to Walmart and whatnot. I made the mistake of going into the Verizon store today, and that was, oh my God.
Was it an actual Verizon store? Or
It was
like
a
a
proper
corporate satellite thing?
No, this is a real Verizon store, like a
I
real
was
deal
duped.
Verizon store. And I went in there and
turned around and walked back out.
no, I was in there for a minute because I was trying to conduct business, and then it turned out to be a bait and switch, a Black Friday bait and switch.
So it wasn't.
Peggy
a
tried to
Verizon
get a $98 Chromebook from Target at 7 a.m., which she was not successful.
Did you guys
I've
see?
refused to shop till Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Bring it.
30 years.
Classic. Classic.
Not many
30
crowds
years,
then.
30 years running.
Yeah.
But
30 years
I
running.
refuse to go to any of those sales.
But do you
Right.
do it on your monkey?
Yeah.
What?
Do you do it on your monkey or a motorcycle?
That does make the buying, that keeps the buying to a minimum.
Right.
Get a backpack.
I'm not buying anything anyway.
Right. Here's your gift card. Shut up. Yeah. I'm only buying shit that fits in my pocket.
Stop at the gas station, get some scratch-offs.
That's right. There you go. Here's 20
you go, honey.
scratch-offs.
Thanks, Uncle
Good
Steve.
luck, Johnny.
Would you try your sale again? Would
What's
you
that?
try the sale again, like in a couple weeks or before Christmas?
We've done, usually what we'll do is in the middle of winter, when all this has died down, we'll do a secret sale of some sort. And that usually brings in more people. Think about that. We are one email coming to your box that you don't want, in a vehicle shop that you forgot about when the sun stopped shining, and we're competing with Walmart. Come on, man. Like, we know nobody's going to show up. So we should just take the money we'd spend on Constant Contact and buy pizza that day, and we'd have a better day. You know, and
Sounds fun.
that's what it would come down to for this small business person. I don't know how the other ones did, but
Does it, like, what's it cost to send out something like that with Constant Contact?
about $30, $40.
So these guys that send you Constant Contact every single day,
Yeah. Oh yeah, those are idiots. Yeah. If you're getting like 5 Constant Contacts a week from some company, they're irretrievably stupid, or they're burning money down to show an expense.
They got a budget.
They got a budget, and marketing. They got to build that marketing budget or build that advertising budget.
Can't lose it. Yeah, you lose it if you don't use
exactly.
it, right?
Yeah.
but
yeah.
that's so annoying.
Oh, it's very annoying. Absolutely. But you know, they're not that hard to unsubscribe from. So you know, that's the nice thing about legitimate ones is they're pretty easy to get away from.
So I
Speaking
can
of-
complain.
Illegitimate ones you
Speaking
can't
of
fucking
big businesses with marketing accounts,
Yeah.
do any of you have college-age children or pre-college
keep
age?
looking that way.
No,
Not in this country.
not
I have never gotten so many emails.
Oh yeah,
Every freaking
because you have
college.
kids at college
I
age.
have one right now that's
Yeah.
well, he's knocking out of the park, so he's got a lot of schools looking at him. But
Mm-hmm.
he keeps like CCing me or something. I'm not doing anything.
Oh, because he doesn't want to deal with the shit.
I'm just getting no. He's getting them too.
Okay.
But I'm getting bombed. Like they must give you like, do you have a cooperating email for your parent?
Oh,
blah,
yeah.
Blah blah.
Yeah.
So I'm getting. I mean, I'm like Bowling Green already. You know, like he's not even going there. Stop asking me for $200 for pre whatever.
They're
pre-parking
cash
place?
vampires.
Oh my god, it's a big business, man.
You know,
Welcome to higher education.
you know what I got today?
What'd you get?
I got one of those
Golden Buckeye
awesome-
card.
No, I got one of those awesome calls that said, "You are being investigated by the DEA. You must call us immediately
Yeah.
with your Social Security number,
Yep.
or we're gonna."
And I got one from the Social Security Administration telling me I better give them my DEA number. So they're working. They're in cahoots with each other.
My wife's
bastards.
118.
yeah, they sit in the same office.
They do.
Just across from each other. Yeah.
Well, it's the same jail cell
Right.
because you're not going to pay somebody to do that.
I've also gotten those college debts.
Mm-hmm.
I never studied in the States, and I'm still getting that shit in my phone. And I was like, they're just spamming the shit out of everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Just trying
I've
to
been
figure it out.
contacted numerous times by the Internal Revenue System.
Oh, the Internal Revenue System.
It's a glitch.
Off.
Don't worry.
Yeah, you just can't prosecute on that one, can you?
My warranty ran out on the HHR that my wife rolled 16 years ago or
Oh,
something.
really?
Yeah, just the other. I mean,
So you should
your
renew that
16-year
warranty.
warranty? You just ran out?
16-year
Your
warranty.
16-year warranty?
5. Yeah.
We're calling you so you can update your extended
That was an
warranty on your...
impressive wreck too. I should have just sent him a video and be like, you know,
Can you fix it?
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh,
what
yeah.
to say to you, buddy. done.
That level, we're being hunted down right now by a customer's insurance company who took a 0 out on a demo ride that only lasted about 7 blocks. So his first left-hand turn on cold tires,
Oh God.
no bueno. And now I warned this guy within an inch of his life. I mean, I gave him the talking to. I mansplained it. I did all the things you're not supposed to do.
Bro spread in front of him.
Yes, I did, including on the bike in the lot in front of the store. Just while we were having this conversation, I just want to say this bike builds torque really, really fast. So I just zapped the throttle a little bit and made smoke come out of the tire like that. And you've ridden them, you know how crazy they are. Well, he made it to 150th Street and went to make a left and unsuccessfully negotiated the left-hand
If you
turn.
wanted to lay it down into the gas station parking lot,
Mission accomplished.
it was awesome.
He
Wait,
put an
he laid it
electric
down?
bike. He laid the bike
Did he
down.
damage his
He
cut?
slid into home.
He slid into the high test pump at the Shell station on a vehicle containing nothing but a lithium battery. Had the fire department who responded known that they were sitting on 40 pounds of lithium
In a gas station.
in a gas
They
station,
brought the wrong tools.
they would have emptied the fire
You'd
station.
have got a machine.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
they would have
humanity.
called in a helicopter
Oh,
assault for
the
that.
humanity.
A
Should have been foam
A
everywhere.
triple F, man, A triple F. They'd
Was
have
he
bombed
holding the
this
trigger
place.
like this?
Yeah, well, exactly. I'm going to blow this whole place up. Yeah, we're all going to die. All of West 150th Street is going down. Yeah, me and my lithium bike are going to take out the west side of Cleveland. So a super nice guy too. But we sent him a bill
was
because,
quiet.
right,
He was the guy that lived next door. Is very quiet.
Very quiet.
Never bothered.
very
anybody.
quiet. You know, yeah,
Such
he's
a
a very
keeper
quiet
himself.
guy.
Yeah,
I
keeps
don't know.
himself.
Never really seemed like he's up to. Yeah. Well, we sent him the bill for the damages to the bike because we always give the option. You can either buy the bike, or you can pay for the damages, and that's quite nice of us. So we did that. Well, he immediately turned that over to his insurance company. That's
expected,
what
as
we in the industry call a dick move. Because for the record, your insurance company only has one job, and that is to never put out any money whatsoever in any direction.
Yes.
So when he said, I have insurance, so I made a mistake that's going to cost me about $1,600. I don't feel like paying it out of my own pocket. I'd rather have my rates go up for the rest of my life. He called his insurance company, and his insurance company, which by the way has like $500 deductible anyway. So they're calling us now, and their insurance company is trying to get us to pay for the crash. Yes, because of course they don't want to pay for it. So now their lawyers are going to attack us because our waiver, our financial responsibility isn't worth the paper it's printed on. So for the record, guys, if you wonder why you're no longer allowed to take a demo ride at ClevelandMoto, yeah,
It's because of Earl.
Thanks, Mr.
because of
Admin.
one fucking guy. Well, it's I don't think his intention was to fuck it up. His intention was to ride a zero when he wasn't financially responsible if he crashed it. So we talked about this before. Don't demo ride something you're not financially responsible to crash.
100%, yeah.
Right? So he would just figured that by the fact that he had insurance, other stunning wake up and smell the coffee moment is guess what your insurance covers? You and the bike your insurance company knows about.
Yeah.
If you are going to ride somebody else's property, call your insurance guy first to make sure you're checked out for that. Because your insurance company might be covering you on your, GZ250 Suzuki that's worth $938. But when you jump on that rented $23,000, ultra wide, whatever, you're probably not going to be covered. So yeah, be aware of
The
that.
word is subrogation.
Ooh, I feel like I've been subrogated.
Insurance, I've got a minor in risk management, and that's all the guy would ever talk about. Subrogation. You always have to be looking at it. Does somebody else's insurance apply?
Oh,
Therefore,
yeah.
we do not have to
Right.
pay. How can you, basically, how can you fuck somebody
Right,
else?
right, exactly.
But in
Just
all-
divert the dick right away from your butt. Yeah.
Into someone else's.
Into somebody else's. Yours looks good.
But in
Outer
seriousness,
space.
so I get nervous just sitting on bikes in a shop.
Yeah.
Or taking, like when my wife and I were shopping for bikes for her, we went to a place in Cuyahoga Falls and whatever.
Place that shall not be named.
Because, yeah, it should not be named. Wow,
But
just
yeah,
glitched my whole.
It's okay. You guys went and rode a couple of bikes.
But I was like so nervous, like I'm like took like my keys in my pocket and everything. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
I don't want it, like just from a personal standpoint.
Right.
I'm treating this like my best friend's bike in his garage. I don't want to sit in his Transalp and put a scratch on his tank, and it's not even left the showroom.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I come to your shop, whatever, like, I'm not gonna like use your bike as a coat rack or whatever, because it's your property.
Selling Transalps
But-
again?
I don't know. Are they? What are they called?
You said that, and I saw
Steve
Steve
needs
start
one.
to drool.
Okay,
Steve's
so
like, "I'll buy
what are they
one."
calling them now? Africa Twins or something? So,
Except it'll be a V, right?
but like, so let's say I do want, like, I have every intention. I'm gonna finance the thing, whatever, because I don't have 15,000 pesos or whatever.
Right.
Can I call my insurance company
Yeah,
and say,
you
hey,
can.
I'm
Absolutely.
going to test ride this bike.
You sure can.
Here's the VIN. Here's the da da da.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they'll cover me for
Absolutely.
an hour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They'll cover you for whatever period of time you tell them to cover you.
Yeah.
And if you were borrowing a friend's bike and you were going to be borrowing it for 2 months even, you could call and tell them that. Because
Okay.
here's the weird thing about insurance companies. They want you to be covered when you crash it,
For sure.
as opposed to the pain in the ass it's going to be when you crash something you're not covered on. So all insurance company and all insurance agents I know are very friendly with that. Give us a call, man. We'll work it out.
When I was buying a couple bikes, when I had my NC 700, I was looking at a bunch of different bikes. You call your insurance company, you say, "Hey, for the next week or two, I'm looking at bikes. Can you
Demo ride
can
you.
you ride? Yeah, can you put a rider on my insurance?
Oh,
and then
demo.
I will call you with the bike I buy, and then I'm just going to put the insurance on that. It was no problem.
Yeah, it's
See,
not
this
a,
is valuable information for
not even
a
an
lot of people.
inconvenience.
I've never even thought about it. I just would decline. Like, I'm not going to test ride that. I can't afford to buy it.
and that's a good baseline,
I don't
but
buy
call
a
your
broken
insurance
bike.
agent. Yeah.
So what sort of additional paperwork do you need to throw together for the future so you're not in this
You know
pickle
what?
again?
We have had 2 different attorneys look over our financial responsibility document that people sign. We lovingly call it a waiver around here because it's not waiving the customer from any responsibility. It's waiving us for any responsibility that the customer may, if they're hurt, harmed, or injured in any way, but also telling them in no uncertain terms, if you break it, you bought it.
Yeah.
And you'd think that not only being a verbal and a handshake, if you break it, you bought it, that would be enough, but it's not. And so we have it in writing with your driver's license that says, if you break it, you bought it. A friend of mine who owns a shop is pretty clever. What he does is he grabs your credit card and will run the card for $1,200 or $1,500 because most credit card processing companies will let you return that at 0% in the same 24-hour period.
Okay, cool.
So he'll hit your card for $1,200 or $1,500 before he sends you out on the bike. And then it really has this interesting calming effect. So if you see the guy in here is Johnny Lightning, his hair's on fire, and he wants to ride your bike, and you can say, that's great, man. I want you to ride it too. I want you to be my customer. But I'm going to need your credit card first. We're going to ping it for about $1,500. Just like you would if you were renting, a good hotel room or like,
A car from Enterprise.
a car from Enterprise or anywhere else. Other companies have been doing this for ages. And when he tells people that, well, first of all, he finds out the people that don't possess a quality credit card. Now, they probably weren't a customer to begin with.
That's a filter.
Right. So that's first stage filtering. Second thing is the guy's probably not going to go out and ride it like the town bike if he thinks there's a chance that it's going to end up costing his credit card,
His
right?
Vegas money's on the line.
That's exactly right. I think that's a clever thing, and I think we're going to start doing that here.
That's genius.
So you had 2 attorneys look over your current
Yeah.
paperwork. So what did they miss? Or
Well, the
were
point
they
is
just
that
like,
it always comes down to my attorney's bigger than your attorney,
okay.
right?
Played.
That's what
Well,
it
you
is.
have to be willing to
Yeah.
prosecute them.
Right.
I mean, you
That's
can't,
exactly
the
right.
paper itself isn't enough of a deterrent. You have to be willing to be like, okay, we're going to court then to fight this out. And we haven't done that
So
because
is that-
that's a tremendous amount of money. And it's such a disappointment in humans that we just don't even want to go there.
What about small claims though? Is that too big for small claims?
No, it's
court?
not, because small claims is going to run you up to about
$1,000
$4
a
grand. So you can do small claims.
Yeah, and
but-
unfortunately, you're in Cleveland.
right.
as opposed
And that's
to-
the biggest thing too, is
Yeah.
you also have to be willing to ride that storm out.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple of weird ones. We've had some people crash bikes and try to walk away from it. And we've worked with insurance companies on some cases. Other cases, we've eaten it. Cost of doing business kind of thing. Hate to be that way, but it's
Why
true.
don't you find yourself a 3rd-year law student
Mm-hmm.
to go on down there and just file the small claims for you and tell me, hey.
You can file it yourself. It's actually
Well, I
it's
know,
easier,
but
you know?
do you want to dick around doing it? Is the question.
The point is, you can dick around doing it. The initiating process is a 3rd grader could handle it.
Yeah.
Then it's going to basically get stalled out for a better part of a year and a half, and then you'll go forward and you'll eventually get to the point where you're not even going to get to a judge. You're going to get to somebody who's going to listen to the case.
Yeah.
And usually at that point, if you're justified, you're going to get what you needed.
You'll
But
get
it
a
took you
judgment,
a long
and then-
time to get there.
Yeah, and then you got to collect on the judgment.
And I hope you haven't been having that bike parked in the back of your showroom for the past 18 months, not selling it while this has all been happening.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you do fix the bike and sell it, you've lost everything. You've lost your leg to stand on.
Why?
Again, it'd be hard for you to have this like, well, this was a hardship and I couldn't sell this bike because the guy crashed it. They're going to say, oh, well, you spent $1,200, you fixed it, and you put it back on the street, you sold the bike. Congratulations. You know what? There is very little sympathy in the world under the cost of doing business rule.
That is true.
Yeah.
But why should it? The case doesn't have to be made that it's a hardship. It's that it's making you whole.
I
It's
understand
restorative
completely.
justice.
I totally dig it.
So I don't know why you wouldn't. I think you should try a test case just once.
and the-
I think you should run
Well,
it
And
through.
report on it at the next
Let's
podcast.
see what happens with this one, and we'll see where we go from there.
I'll do
Throw a little
paperwork.
dye in the water,
Yeah.
Phil. What the hell?
What's that?
Throw a little dye in the water.
Throw a little
See
bit in
where
the
it
water.
goes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we'll
but
see
you
what
know,
happens.
so you put $1,200 into to make this bike
Yeah.
legit,
Yeah.
and it's got a history now.
That's what and that's
So
my
you were
biggest
only
issue.
going to make $800
Right.
on the bike in the first place,
Exactly.
or whatever the hell,
Right.
$80, whatever.
It depends on the bike,
I mean,
right?
because it's
Yeah.
thin sometimes.
It's thin, so it can barely be
whack
thin.
crampy.
But so that's just it. The takeaway for that is one: if you're going to demo bike rides, please go ahead. Just give your insurance guy a call. Why not?
Be upfront.
What's it going to cost you? $30? Is he going to raise your rate $30 for 30 days so you can go out and ride anything with wild indemnity?
Avon.
It's like a bum in an alley.
It's all those peach schnapps.
That is, it's now officially the sound of a podcast.
For the
Yes,
count.
I was trying to get Johnny. Sorry.
You did clear the whole table on that
I've
shot.
had
though.
worse.
I'll put an eye out.
45-degree angle is the best trajectory
Very
for
seasonal,
maximum
Chris.
range.
Very seasonal.
Yes. So we did want to talk about, since it is Black Friday,
Gonna amp up the spring.
Christmas is official. It's on. You know what? Kromke's shoots really good. His is, I think his might be the winner.
Spring.
It's got the most velocity.
I have a feeling there'll be some modifications by
Oh
the
yeah,
next
we're gonna
week.
tweak the.
Oh, I
crap
think
out
there's
of it.
gonna, people are going to be
Fluid
cocking these things with freaking
Need some
crossbow.
lube
Yeah.
in this thing.
You're like, there's a foot hole in it, so you can pull it with both hands, get the tension up right. Yeah. Do little trebuchets out here. The who wants a motorcycle thing for Christmas?
Yes.
Because I do.
Yeah.
I was able to figure out in my fucking empire of motorcycle related shit. There was something that I didn't have that I did realize that I did want.
No.
And I'll get the ball rolling. Yeah, it turns out there's.
Should we have any kind of guessing game, or do you just want to
No,
tell
I'm just gonna
us?
go because
Oh, it's
guessing
very
games.
obscure.
Yeah, guessing games are.
Get ugly.
No, guessing games get ugly. They can get ugly real quick. The 'cause
tried.
I don't want to
Oh,
hear.
you have.
Yeah, I don't want to hear all the things these guys
Especially
think I need.
You
Yeah.
already have the rainbow tassels, Phil.
No,
Yeah, I'm in. Oh yeah. Somebody help me with this beer. This beer is delicious, but I can't drink. It's a pounder. I can't drink the whole thing. So
How do you mean?
the
not a beer.
but here's the game. I realized that there's a dopey little thing that you sit on, and you.
A dildo.
Yeah. Hey! I said little, Oscar. Little.
it.
All right.
Butt plug.
After
Right.
this.
Exactly. Sibian. Let's make some money for somebody. The so it turns out, when I work on bikes here at the shop, I have a lift here in the front room, and I work on a lot of bikes when I'm waiting for customers to come in, and when there's other things going on. So I'll have a little project bike going. I've got a nice lift here in the front of the shop in the showroom. I've got my tool chest here, and so I can do a lot of jobs, light duty jobs, idiot jobs. That moved along. Yeah.
Tweaking my.
Oh, you've been tweaking your plugger? Oh, yeah. Tweaking your spring? So, but I roll around on this old office chair. I got like a 20-year-old office chair that bit the dust. So, like that shock absorber part of the office chair broke. So now it's a permanent lowrider. And then I took the arms off of it. So now it's just a stool with wheels.
Roller. Yeah.
And it works perfect for getting around my lift, for doing the work that isn't quite high enough to stand up and, too low, right? So, oh, John, bless you.
Are there marshmallows in it?
Oh, no, there's no mushrooms there, but it smells like heaven.
Hold on,
Yeah,
hold on.
that's the sound of happiness.
These guys.
Pick. Or a little bit of both.
Oh, coffee, baby. Yeah, so
have
we're gonna do
Kahlua.
this.
My wife
Kahlua and cream. Yeah, that's the way to go. And so I've been using this beat to shit old office chair for years to scuttle around my lift. And I realize now that many companies, make a stool that has wheels under it but more importantly, has side saddles. Like it has legit racks, tool bins on the side where you can reach down and have like all your screwdrivers on the left-hand side, all your wrenches on the right-hand side, and a tray for the nuts and bolts and shit, which would normally be
Don't
like in
tease
your
me.
pockets.
That's excessive.
This is better than my 5-gallon bucket and a creeper.
Well, so yeah, the Bucket Buddy, which is what I used for years. Merritt knows the day I got my Bucket Buddy, I was like, this is genius.
Changed the world.
Got a 5-gallon bucket, got a Carhartt device that goes around the bucket to hold all your tools, and then a relatively soft plastic seat to go on top of the bucket. And then I've got the little wheelie thing from the Rainbow vacuum cleaner that the 5-gallon bucket sits in perfectly, and I'm now mobile around the thing. But it's all made of plastic low as bitter, so it didn't have a long shelf life.
It's tippy.
It's super tippy. Yeah, it's super tippy. Yeah. So,
Duck hunting version of that seat actually swivels too.
ooh, do we have to shoot ducks? Yeah, but
It also has a lid you can lift
Shoot the
up
duck.
and do what you got to do
Ducks
and
up.
keep hunting.
that is the other use for the bucket. It's the perpetual. So yeah, I mean this mechanic's stool, and it's funny because you've seen them at every different level, from like Harbor Freight quality to like legit,
There's
Eastwood.
better than Harbor Freight.
What do you mean? What do you mean? There's something better than Pittsburgh Automotive has them for the. Which, Pittsburgh Automotive is Harbor Freight, for anybody who's not paying attention. Pittsburgh Automotive is the
It's like,
Chinese.
It's like Aldi and Trader Joe's.
It is Aldi and Trader Joe's. That's exactly right.
The Russian cousins.
That is, they are. Pittsburgh, when you're buying something at Harbor Freight that says Pittsburgh on it, it is from the Pittsburgh region of China. It is not from Pittsburgh.
It's like
And-
the
The
Georgia.
R is silent, no?
Right, and Chicago tools, like the Pittsburgh is usually, it's not from Taiwan, it's straight up from China. So that's one of those ones that's like, yeah. Yeah, right. So that's a thing that if you're into it and you haven't tried one yet, if you guys want to look up at the screen, we'll put it in the show notes because it's fun. But so you see, there's some drawers under there and some all kinds of. Oh, look, somebody's calling the podcast.
Hallelujah.
I wonder who this
Is this the bat phone?
No, this is not the bad phone. Oh no, this is.
A live
It's probably
bat phone.
Harbor
That'd be
Freight.
awesome.
We could have fun
What are
with
you
somebody.
saying?
I mean, you're calling the motorcycle shop at 8:24 at night. Hello, Cleveland
Black
Moto. May I help
Fridays.
you?
We don't have
Make
pepperoni.
that
We're
That
all
is a really nice.
pepperoni.
Oh, that's a
Come
really
on,
good
try it.
price.
Sorry, what was that again?
Give it to Oscar now.
Long
We do
time
have
listener,
gift cards.
first time
That's
caller.
okay. Stop by. We'll be open tomorrow between 11 and 6.
I love this idea.
So that's $44
We
for this
closed about an
thing.
hour and a half
I'm your
ago.
biggest
Yeah.
fan.
That's totally worth
Finish it
$44.
up.
100%. Even if it lasts
How
1
about
year.
45?
100, yeah, 45 is
I have a
fine.
coupon. It'd probably be
That
25.
butterscotch is delicious.
That's good.
I have a super
You would have
coupon.
your first paying customer.
No, that could have been. They're buying a gift. I could have
Black
taken.
Friday,
I
they
literally
want to
could've-
come in
I
and
could have closed that sale today. I could have taken his credit card and sold him a gift card. But we're pretty low tech around here. We actually hand you the gift card, as opposed to shooting it to you
Emailing
through
it.
some
Do
sort
one of
of
those things that go like this with your credit card?
ka-chunk.
Yeah, the old
knuckle cruncher.
I just
I
scanned
was
them
wondering
and
about
walked
that
by.
if somebody out there still is using them, because credit cards still come with the
Not
raised
anymore.
lettering and everything on
Some.
it.
anymore.
Mine doesn't
Oh, okay, so
anymore.
they finally done away with the
Well,
raised
if you
lettering.
have the Onyx card,
They're gonna block my number.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Goes
it's
up
gonna
on YouTube.
You better wrap that thing in foil so people aren't reading it.
Yeah.
My hat's got foil
I
inside.
didn't put any sugar in that. I don't know if you have
beer
sugar.
tastes like Tootsie
I would never
Rolls.
put
Sugar.
Wow.
What?
This is a podcast in the round at
Do you know
this
what?
point, isn't
This
it?
is Irish style cream liqueur by Ryan's is the only thing that should ever go in coffee, apparently, as far as I'm concerned.
It's like a pasta.
As far as Ryan's concerned.
As far as Ryan's concerned, I've never drank Ryan's liqueur before, but apparently,
It's a cheaper version of.
yes.
He's making out his garage over in Overland.
Any of the Irish
Buffalo
creams.
Trace.
Okay,
Bourbon cream.
Steve. The other Steve keeps turning the microphone my way. I don't know. He doesn't want to be on air.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm not going to fight it.
no, just let it happen, John. Just let it happen.
So Phil, tell us about this thing you want.
Fuck it, it's a cart, man. It's a cart. You sit on it with your butt, and it's got little side saddle things that hold your nuts and bolts and screws and washers and whatnot.
I hope that's
And-
not holding your nuts.
Well,
sit
that's
back
not big
far
enough.
enough, it is.
That's not big enough, honey.
The drawer does come out
should know
fully
that.
extended.
The drawer does come out, and it's got little ball bearing drawers and whatnot. The wheels don't seem to be up to the task at all. It's a Harbor Freight device. If
I'm
you look at that
concerned about those
motherfucker,
wheels.
that thing is going to fail metal quick.
It's going to bend right
But
at the.
yeah,
Those wheels should be outboard.
those wheels are not long for this earth.
They should
So-
be out at the end of the shelves in order to.
Well, that
keep
depends
them
on
stable.
how much weight you want to put on those shelves.
Yeah, but it won't fit in the box. You have to build that shit yourself.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
yeah. You ultimately, but the idea is there. The idea is solid.
Can we see the picture with the guy sitting on it?
Is there a picture of the guy
I
sitting
think it's
there?
on the bottom
Last one,
right.
you see his ass.
He's wearing a belt thing.
Yeah, all
Last one,
right.
yeah.
He's on it backwards.
Hold
Shirt
on, wait
tucker.
for it. Shirt tucker. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
That's not even a real picture.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's all CG.
He's too thin to be a mechanic.
Jeez, oh
And
man.
look how clean he is. His shoes aren't even dirty.
He's
look at
definitely
that
not
floor.
working on anything.
You know, that's an epoxy floor where somebody spent 3 times as much money as they should for the chips.
I'd know that. I'd know that
It's a
ass
high
anywhere. That
density.
was
That is a
awesome.
high density
No,
of chips.
it's not. I don't
Yeah.
tuck. Plus you.
His drawers are behind him. What's he do? Grab his tools by feel?
He's got an assistant.
I do like that they use the Harbor Freight little light, the LED light on the
yeah.
bottom though, so
they're not fucking
milking
around.
the yeah.
So yeah, that. So when you just say mechanic stool, you're going to end up with some boring piece of bullshit.
I'd never heard of Pittsburgh Automotive. I have to check that out.
Pittsburgh Automotive. Yeah, I think it's an actual shop that
I like that
exists in the world.
tractor style one where it has the tractor seat, like the wide
The
bucket.
anatomically
I need,
correct.
I need the wide bucket. You know what I'm
So
saying?
here is the fancy version is the jugs. I mean jegs.
Cuff my ass.
The jegs version is the legit. Yeah, so the jegs is going to cost you 5 whole doll hairs more, but it has an extra drawer.
I'm building one.
So the jegs and the Omega, the Omega is from Zorro, only one R tools for $77. But in any case, that's kind of the thing that I said. You know, that's
pretty cool.
That's a thing that I like and a thing that I think I'll use. And it does look like the Omega toolbox has 3 drawers. It doesn't have any outriggers. And it has casters that look like it might actually suffer my 200 pounds.
What you should do, Phil?
Yeah.
Buy
take
the
your,
extended warranty.
Yeah, that too.
Gap insurance.
Take that wheelchair.
Yeah. Oh, the power wheelchair.
And just mount a toolbox on it.
Fuck
and then you
yeah.
can ride around your toolbox.
That'd be
and
awesome.
mechanics.
Oh my god! And I could get a little Stephen Hawking's bit for my mouth, so I could continue to work on the bike as I roll around the bike.
Like in the Apache helicopter, put it on your Google glasses.
I could just suck to
and you
go
can
left,
just-
blow to go right. You know,
Yeah,
Phil.
suck
You
left,
can
blow
Send
right.
them Peter Frampton and it takes you
Suck a little bang.
Yeah, a little 4-stroke action.
fucking stupid podcast. I don't want anybody to listen to this shit. The yeah, so that's the thing.
Hover around by Craftsman.
Yeah, that would be it. No, hover around by Harbor Freight,
I rode a wheelchair.
and it would be
all summer.
rechargeable.
Yeah.
You did?
Work.
My mom.
As soon as the sun came out, I just put it back like
You
this.
did.
Like,
Nice. Oh, you got that super cripple one.
Yeah.
That one with the like super like it does the reclining. It basically stands up for you. It's got like the leg putter outer part, like it like.
If it had a keg on it, would be perfect.
Jesus
We should
Christ.
have a wheelchair podcast. Everybody just showing up.
Just shows up in a wheelchair.
This is what the podcast will be like in about 5 years from now. Just a
The Cushman cast,
Just a preview.
Cushman podcast.
Prophecy has been made.
Well, at least 2 of us would have to die first. So, the who else wants something for Christmas? Come on, bring your wish list, guys.
Clockwise.
We'll go whatever you got, man. Bring it on.
I like Chris's socks and gloves that with the batteries.
Oh, electric,
yeah,
the electricity.
Yeah, because I mean the bikes that I have are scooters without batteries, so I can't even use.
You don't have
the heated
anything
creeps.
that you could
There's
plug something into.
Nothing.
You need
yeah.
pixie power.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
so
exactly.
that definitely is
I could see Oscar with the solar powered gloves in the wintertime. Just
fucking
hating life.
notepad.
Solar panel on his helmet.
I'm not.
Driving around in the cold
So
snow,
much
being cold,
humor in my head.
being miserable.
Wow.
I want somebody to put heated grips on everything I own,
Oh,
Yeah.
you
including
want
my car.
you want the heated grip fairy to
my
show
snow
up?
blowers, everything, motorcycles, every
Yeah.
motorcycle, everything should have.
You know, you say, yeah, but
Lawnmower.
that's no
Snowblower, yes.
joke. Snowblower, right? So I eliminated the incandescent light from my father-in-law's snowblower,
Okay,
and
yeah.
put a LED light on it, which was way more light.
Yeah.
That freed up a bunch of wattage. Now we can afford heated grips.
Is there a battery on your father's snowblower?
No,
or is it
there's not.
constant loss?
No, it's just constant loss.
Oh, so those heated grips could get really hot really
Oh,
fast.
hell yeah. Hey, he's, ready to.
There's no capacitor in the system whatsoever. It'll shoot lightning right out your father's hands.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. God of thunder.
Just put a regulator in there.
It's
Not that I
lightning
haven't
bolt,
thought this through.
lightning bolt.
But I've never owned a new car, you
Yeah.
know? And so I was in Philly working this past week, and we got to rent a new Jeep something. It's a 2020 Jeep something.
Yeah.
And it had a heated steering wheel. And it was
What?
the greatest thing.
Hell yeah.
Oh, my God. It was
your
like,
hands fall asleep?
has one in it. It's
Oh.
the best thing ever.
Really?
yeah.
It's
It's really good.
Driving gloves be damned.
Is it a
He has
convertible?
heated
Why
seats,
would
and
you
I'm
get
like,
those?
wow, this is
Because it's
so
Ohio.
nice.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I'd give
People are
anything to have
from
auto
other
start,
places
electric
that are
start,
cool.
That's true.
remote start. That'd be great.
On your motorcycle?
On anything.
No.
What is it?
Remote
Or
start.
just have the remote start, so you
Oh,
can
yeah.
just
I've been looking at that, actually.
We had all
yeah.
those Chinese scooters that had remote start on them.
Don't you have any teenagers?
Hardly ever used them.
No, but every time somebody
do.
opened the garage door, they started.
That's been a conversation.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, my 12-year-old needs to start hustling her ass out there. Clean off the car, start it up before I come downstairs.
I'm just gonna say, like in the last 5 years, I haven't shoveled snow or cut grass unless I wanted to.
Well, you must-
Well, you have 8. How many kids do you have?
All right, let's not talk. This is a family show.
Father X.
Family friendly.
Exactly.
Let's not get
Yeah.
into all that.
Exactly.
Maybe next week.
Right. Every year you have to come up with a new sport to use to tell
So-
people how many kids you have in your family.
Well, he was.
I'm on AdventureRider.com. Right? Are we allowed to say?
ADV. Yeah.
And at one point, there's a guy named Baldy that used to own it.
Yeah.
Right. But
Right.
he made money and sold it. So at one point, he sent me a personal message that said, "Can we just put in something that represents a variable?" Because we went from 8 to 9.
Right.
And so he said, I said, "How about X? That's a mathematical thing, right?"
Yes,
He
it
said,
means
"That-
10."
That works.
Right.
Well, but it also
Variable, yeah.
some sort of Pythagorean theorem.
Man
Right.
plus woman
Whatever.
equals X.
So in 2000 and whatever, that was it, and so it's never changed.
It's never changed.
So now
It's
it's-
been X.
So then I got a lot of messages when people would be having a conversation with me, however, and say,
Right.
"I don't mean to offend you," because they
Right.
thought I was Catholic or something.
Oh, he was a
Father, as in
Oh, no.
Amadeus Deus, you be all right, you know. And yeah, so it's just stagnant. We're just holding.
We're holding.
at
Yeah.
X.
This is it. You've done your part. You've done my part. You've done their part. Yeah.
My carbon footprint is established,
Yes, it is. This is true.
but it's minimal, relatively.
You
Well,
ready to break into that?
Wow, why are we talking about
I was going to say it's pretty
move
good. It's
on.
winter time. All these
Christmas.
people are going to be making babies all winter long.
No,
Yeah, it happens.
That's the problem with being a contractor. There's nothing good on TV, and you've run out of work. It's freaking January. What are you gonna do?
And that's what you're going to do. And that's how you're going to knock it out.
Anyway, moving
Who
on.
else got a good Christmas present? Or wants a good Christmas present?
I watched a Long Way Round again just because
Oh, you did?
it's on Prime now. You know?
Okay, yeah.
And I realized because of watching it again that my Arai Adventure helmet is from 2004. So I think I may need a new helmet for
Not
Christmas.
the worst idea to look inside your helmet and find out. Yeah.
I've needed a new helmet for like 10 years, but I just can't
never
find one big enough for my bucket.
When was the last time you crashed? You didn't need
Yeah, I
it.
know a place that's they're selling them for $30 under cost.
There you go.
Only on
That's
Friday.
right. Yeah. Black
Back on the
Friday.
cheek.
And a free windy.
Yeah, that's it. Free windy. That's it. Yeah, it's according to Google, the number one best gift for a motorcycle is a Milwaukee leather men's motorcycle jacket. That is the number one gift according
what?
to Google. Is a Milwaukee
This is the best
leather
gifts.
men's.
As in the people that make the drills and stuff.
You know what? And that's the problem is I have noticed that there has
Milwaukee
been a
leather.
preponderance of this Milwaukee leather, which I'm convinced is just Pakistan something, you know. It ain't Milwaukee tools, that's for goddamn sure.
It's not heated.
It's not
Yeah,
red.
and it's not red.
Fuck
Right,
that. It's
right.
not
They,
heated.
they can't Google.
Is it just for
They get
style?
paid for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Leave
Milwaukee's
it.
tough as
Thing
nails.
up.
Yeah, this
But
is
actually, Phil, see, that's
Darling.
from carbibles.com.
Oh, really?
See, look.
Those guys have got those guys have got it in for us anyway.
Carbibles.
they know?
Carbables.
Comparable?
Yeah, what the fuck do they know? They drive cars. Fuck those
Cage
guys.
mother.
I mean,
Right.
even a company that starts with V doesn't make theirs in
I need
America
more
anymore.
clues.
Right, that's true. Oh yeah,
Paul?
yeah. That's a factual statement. We tried this shit on one of our podcasts where we said, if you bought your helmet, your gloves, your jacket, and your bike from America, could you do it? Could you buy all of those items in the United States of A? And we couldn't do it.
No.
So we did find one company that sold a helmet made in America, but it wasn't actually a motorcycle helmet. It was a law enforcement riot helmet. And it could be used in motorcycle applications.
That's a
But
look.
not done.
Right. But it wasn't really a motorcycle helmet.
Wow.
And that was as close as we could get.
Dansby or
What's that?
what's the name of that?
Oh, it's real easy to pull up. But yeah, we had done it for the podcast. We tried really hard to find like we said, if you wanted to buy American, could you do it? And it wasn't easy. And in fact, when it came to the helmet, it was fucking impossible. We found gloves, we found jackets, we found the whole deal.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is, we'd found all these things that were like, they had said they were made in America, but when we researched it, we discovered they weren't made in America at all. They were just put in a box.
They were
Yeah,
designed in
they were
America.
just put in
Were
a
they
fucking
assembled
box.
in America?
Not even.
Not even, probably
Not
packaged.
even.
You know, I
Not
love
even.
Throwing,
Well, that's like-
I love
that's-
throwing bastards under buses. So I used to manage a company that when I started working there, they were really behind the 8 ball, and in 6 months we turned them around. We got rid of a bunch of bogus machinery, and they started making some money. Turns out there was 2 sets of books, so we were making money on 1 set of books.
Oh.
The other one we were getting a loan from the bank because we needed money. Anyway, but they were pulling in containers of ratchet tie downs and ripping off the made in wherever the hell they were made in, and then I literally had a person sewing in, and I say I because I was the general manager until I found out what was going on, sewing in a tag that said "Made in America" or "Made in USA."
Right. Yeah.
Right. So this is the level of shit that I look at now. Like how?
Well, you know
maddening.
about that security company. Just recently, there was a security company in the United States that was selling security equipment to the U.S. government that was made in America. But like this stuff is like super high tech, it like dials into stuff. It attaches itself to the internet, and then they found out that they were having it shipped in from China, taking off the made in China labels, putting the USA labels on it, then selling it back to the US government as made in America stuff. It was a huge deal. Because they kind of figured out that this stuff was also calling into China, telling all
the back doors preloaded on it
Yeah.
and everything like that.
Yep.
Good job, guys. Yeah.
So
Look at us,
that's
made
such
in
a
America.
Bummer around Christmas.
I always thought that would be a great idea for like a chain of stores. Just called Made in America.
Made in America.
And everything in the store
Has been vetted.
You know,
Right.
we find this still. There's still a factory actually making jeans. Yes,
Sure.
they're ridiculously expensive, but
I don't
they're
care.
made
If
in
you sold
America.
nothing but axe handled, you sell a lot of them.
worth it, Dave.
Yeah, because of that thing. So I did look it up, and if you guys want to check out the screen, the company is called Super Sear, and Sear is the name of the company. And Sear does, in fact, and I'm happy to say that since our last podcast, Sear has upped their game, and Sear now has, and that's SEER, if you do want to buy a helmet that is actually made in America, they now have an ADV helmet, and they now have a modular motorcycle helmet.
How much is that modular?
I think about $9,000. You can only buy it if you have a
Take out a loan.
LEO only.
And get
an
the
LEO
insurance.
only. Yeah,
Get
exactly.
the insurance
right.
rider on that.
I love how they have no prices put at all, but you can
Oh, no, it's not the
request
price,
a
the model
quote, right?
God, I thought that model number was the price.
Right. And
Holy shit.
I'm
We have
gonna.
$9,000.
The 1680. Holy.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting
Looks like
because
John and
There you
Shane.
go. Let's do the order now.
CPD was talking about getting modular helmets,
Uh-huh.
and I wonder if they're going through this company or not.
Well, I
There
mean,
it is.
400. So for a shorty helmet, guys,
No.
I'm not making this up. For a shorty
Carbon
helmet,
fiber helmet.
$445. So $445 is American.
It tain't right.
But the idea being like, this is that whole thing of these guys are smart enough to know that every law enforcement agency in America is going to buy the helmet that says made in America.
Look at all those options.
I know, right?
There's like more than the screen can hold.
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's loads of options. And $450 per helmet. So you could have a made in
Is
America.
that base or is that fill out some free? No, we don't
I
have
can
time.
tell you
That's a
personally,
shorty helmet,
from
yeah.
But
dealing
I'm just
with
curious.
safety services individuals.
You do all those options,
that
you're going to be a
they are
12
definitely for gear Camaros
Yeah.
to the hill. So you would want to have every little option, and if one guy gets something, everybody else has got to have it, and they're all like, "Oh, I want this. Oh, yours does that. Why doesn't the Bluetooth work on mine?" And blah 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 blah.
Well, if you do stuff like Mike pointed out the options list on this particular company, and it's like if you want to have an open ear harness, so
a
you can like
12-step
put
program.
if you can put a communicator in there, that's an additional $38 on top of your
That's cheap.
$445, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to have a Cool Max liner, that's an extra $26. So you could really end up building yourself into a really expensive helmet here.
$600-700
Yeah, super
helmet.
fast. So that's a thing. And if you want the privilege of buying American, in this particular case, you're looking at $500 plus for a shorty helmet.
No motorcycle, our motor officers, it's not enough to have to reach up and touch
the
a
mic?
button here.
Right.
They have to have the remote PTT box
Yeah.
here
Oh,
that
yeah.
that remotely, you know, like, oh,
You
that's
can't
what-
compromise
Oh, yeah.
safety for that.
Yeah,
kind of
no, you
shit.
can't. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
the Republican, the RNC is paying off in folds. I mean, still brand new out of the box, coming out with RNC 2016.
And that's
All the shit this city got from that.
really, that money is still being spent from
Oh.
2016.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
they need to call me. I could hook them up.
I was going to say, you need me to help you spend some of that money. I got some electric
It's Black
motorcycles
Friday.
over here. Your cops are going to love. I'll make you a special deal on helmets and jackets.
If you, don't
got
think
it.
that RNC was the best thing that happened to Cleveland,
You're dead wrong.
Coming back.
wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
2020.
there's a
I'll take the RNC, the DNC,
A PNC, I'll take it all.
PNC,
Give me,
any kind of
yeah,
NC.
give me
I
anything.
think you
I'll
need that
take
procedure,
all of it.
John.
yeah,
I need a DNC.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, here's something I'm curious about at
Sure.
Christmas. We're traveling to Montreal this
We are.
year. Going to do a Canadian Christmas.
Tabernacle.
So I'm curious about how the motorcycle shops there to see their stuff,
Yeah.
to see how they have snowmobiles, maybe in the shop, different stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse
I'm
me,
curious to
that's
see that.
snow machine.
No
Yeah.
machines.
right.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
Thank you for translating.
you got to keep you honest.
That's exactly it. When you are speaking north,
Quebecois.
Great Lake North, Quebecois. Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. We're gonna go get the snow machines. Go out the house.
But it is crazy the different
I think it's
stores.
about time.
My buddy has a cabin out in the UP up there.
Yeah.
And the
does that
motorcycle
mean?
stores do a transition. They go from like motorcycles
Yeah.
and things during
To
the
sleds.
summer to nothing but sleds.
Sleds,
the whole
man.
store is nothing
all
but
Like
sleds.
that back
What
corner
about
of
snow
Target.
bikes?
Always
I'm
changing,
sure, yeah,
always
timber sleds.
reinventing itself.
Yeah, I want a snow bike.
I think it's funny when you go to the Walmart and you go to the back corner of the Walmart where we are, and there's one snowmobile helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
never been
and there's one motorcycle helmet in our Walmarts here in town, and it's just hilarious. You're like, oh shit, Walmart has a motorcycle section.
Is it made by Built?
Oh, it's right on the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Par.
probably on the same.
Yeah.
Same deal, $39 or whatever.
Done.
But it is funny that they have a motorcycle section, and it's just like about 8 inches wide, and it has like a motorcycle battery. It has a like bungee cord. It has a helmet. Yeah, that's it. That's all you're gonna get.
And those goggles.
A glove.
One glove.
Ein glove. Exactly. Yeah.
nice.
So yeah, it is really funny when you do think when you're like, okay, well, you know, motorcycle people are generally like, oh, I know what to get them. Something black and orange. It'll be great. Not really. So yeah, when it does come down, we had to get our what is he now? Our brother-in-law? Yeah, he's our brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So we had to get our brother-in-law a present for his birthday, and Merritt's
Sure,
just
he's your brother?
yeah, yeah.
You're still thinking about it.
Yeah, well, he's
Merritt confirmed it.
He's a cop. Well, sometimes I have problems with like the disjointed family thing. Like, you know, what level of relationship are we? That's not going to make any sound, John.
It's gonna sound like a
Jägermeister
fart.
is
That's
not.
why there's
That's what it's
video.
gonna sound like.
Not till later.
Yeah.
When he cracks the seal on the Jägermeister, goes, "Ach, du meine Gute."
We had all the lovely,
Zigzag.
delicious stuff that Dan brought. What were they?
man.
The Krauton,
All the kraut liqueurs.
the Kraut liqueurs.
It's what krauts drink.
And we kept comparing them to Jägermeister.
Did we?
And so when I found out we
Brought
had
the
this
genuine article.
several-year-old bottle of unopened Jägermeister,
It's finally
Hey.
matured.
It just begged to be brought in.
All the deer pisses evaporated.
should I
All
get
that is that's,
Wait,
Wait,
that's
you know what I
Schmidt's
have?
Should we
Formula
actually use
44B.
use
Hold on.
like a cup
player.
or something?
She has a ice luge.
Oh, she brought an ice luge.
You're a keeper.
Inappropriate
Jägermeister.
I
sizes.
brought some like
Schmidt's Beard and
brandy,
Fitz is
eggnog,
deep.
just in case. I don't know.
We'll have some
I know what I was
light.
getting
She's
into.
sitting to
What
the
are you holding
side.
out?
She should be in the middle.
Brandy.
Boy, nothing makes a loogie like eggnog, man. Nothing makes a loogie
Nothing.
like
Does
anybody
eggnog.
want cough
That's the
syrup?
best
Best
loogie
loogie
ever.
ever.
Take one down.
It's truly the best
I'll
loogie.
take one.
This takes
Jack.
me back to college. That was the best minute.
Jägermeister, that goes good with eggnog.
Syrup.
Oh, damn.
Oh man, I don't know if it goes good with eggnog.
Just a
but
little splash.
We're gonna find
Come
out.
on.
Only for a minute.
Anybody else?
What?
No, thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Please do. Thank you. Don't mind if I do. I'm working on my fourth kind of.
And then a
have a
loogie to follow.
Strange mix there, buddy.
Maybe
Wait
you
till
should
you
copy
see.
the
You want to see
butter?
strange?
Well, this is the mix
Clear the
is.
palate.
I've got a little bit of a cold going, so everything is.
Oh,
in
there you
line
go.
With,
Right.
Yeah, I took an
Oh,
It's
oath.
all
you got it
medicinal,
right.
is what you're saying.
Right.
I took a monastic
Exactly.
oath. Oh,
Oh,
damn.
boy.
And he's
boy.
got ice. That's luxury.
Anybody else?
Is
We
it?
haven't been- no.
It's a luxury.
100%. So
Just a
luxury.
little nip.
Well, here's to us. Here's to the lost episodes.
Hey,
I'm okay.
cheers.
That's right.
Yeah, I
Here's to
tried
all of
that.
That's
us.
a loss for you.
The rest of
Talk
my
about
I
life.
just
last
cracked my cup.
episode.
Shit.
Oh, no.
Literally.
Some of them are pre-cracked.
It's no, you didn't do it. The
Are they
Jägermeister
cracked?
did it.
I
I
cracked
cracked
it.
them.
I'm gonna have to keep my finger over that.
That cup is rejecting the.
I'm
There's
gonna have to
another
put
one. There's a couple over here.
I'm gonna have to put my finger in the dike.
Do
You
it.
said the cup is rejecting.
Who are you, the
No
little
offense.
Dutch boy?
No offense, Liza. Oh my God, she listens.
That's as special as I
You'll be getting a
remember.
text
It is,
message
isn't
any
it?
minute.
I still love it. I do love Jägermeister. It reminds me of sitting at the bus
nostalgic?
stop eating a pretzel.
You think it gets any better with age? The fact that this is 4 or 5 years old?
Absolutely.
Only if you leave the lid
No,
on.
I think
Smell
that
it.
that's
Something
probably
climbs into it.
Oh my god.
it's probably coming right into its own right now.
I like it.
Yeah, it's
Like
That's
yesterday,
good.
which was
I think
20
all the
years ago.
glycols evaporated out of it by now. You're probably
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
Can't
do it.
probably
No, I
fine.
can't do it.
It just doesn't taste right without some Red Bull.
Oh God.
Jaeger
Oh, I
bombs.
should have bought that. That is my jam.
Oh my
Jaeger
goodness.
bombs. Jaeger bombs.
All right.
Or a set of booze.
21-year-old
You know,
Up in your game.
I'm just saying.
Hey John, while you're over there
Four
mixing
Loko.
drinks, if you could go ahead and put. Now you got to be careful because we can only do 2 fingers in
Wait.
this.
Yeah.
I have more
We
cups.
have
Would
some
you like
more
your
cups.
finger?
Oh, okay.
No,
Give-
we're not wasteful.
we're
Okay.
not wasteful.
Two fingers
just
is
No
fine.
single-use plastics here.
Give me
No, sir.
give me 2 fingers
got
of
the problem, too.
eggnog.
Just pass this
and however much Jaeger will
Maybe
fit in there
they're
too.
pre-cracked.
Wait a second.
You're the
Let's
bartender.
So it's
pass the Jaeger to
pre-tainted,
him.
so I don't.
Okay.
We'll see how
God.
it.
We'll hook you up.
Okay.
Did you
So I
make
gotta
this in
build my own
prison or
cocktail.
something?
I know.
It's
Here we go.
pre-tainted.
Is it pre-tainted?
Bring it back down here for the
Oh, you're
Hang it in the
Oh,
toilet
he's going to
bowl.
mix
great.
himself.
Oh, it's terrible. I don't know. Well, there goes the podcast. Hey,
Well, you know,
So
pretty
this
soon
has
we'll be
been
able to get the coquito.
Yeah.
Is that eggnog or coquito?
we're gonna test the eggnog because it has
We're
been
just tainted.
pre-tainted.
There's no
Apparently-
saving this one. This
Apparently,
one.
this
We're just taking a little brief intermission for drink.
I tried it, and at the end, I just dumped some brandy in it, and I just walked out.
Oh,
Well,
hallelujah.
you know, if you
Gonna
put
get
Yeah, you
enough
did.
liquor
Yeah, you did.
in the
Yeah.
eggnog,
Yeah, you did.
it
Game on.
lasts
Do you have
for
more
years.
cups?
Do you know what this
Really?
needs?
But I put some half and half in
Very
there and
fucking
nutmeg
little.
too.
No, this is really good.
Yeah.
This is really delicious the way it is.
How many eggs are in
Get some
that?
of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Have as many.
There's
you
been
want.
there's been a couple of it's been an advanced nogging. Yeah, there's been a serious amount of
Tis
nog
the
happening.
season.
Yeah.
Thick.
It's got some viscosity.
Yeah, that's what we
Keep
want.
it coming.
That's the bull semen, in case you were worried about
Yeah,
it.
that's-
Dan, you
The
want
bull semen kind of pulls it all together.
That's that little wang you get.
Yeah,
the little
right.
wang you get is the bull
I
semen.
want a little
Yeah.
stringer
Starts to
coming
wang
out.
at
Oh
the
yeah, I
end.
got a little stringer when I pulled.
So you were asking about Christmas presents.
Yeah.
I don't mean to.
Oh, that's the
bring
gift
us-
that keeps
No,
getting.
bring it back, Mike.
Yeah.
Let's go. Come
So,
on.
Is that
no, I
actual
gave this some
eggnog?
thought because I got a
With
text
eggs?
message from somebody this
Oh
morning.
yeah, I bought this.
Afternoon, whatever the
That's
hell it
good
was.
stuff. That's the good stuff.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I just cut them off. Bring it in. Let's go.
Doesn't even show you
Look,
the
you can do that now.
No, come
It
on.
is kind of fun.
And that's a $2 return.
Behind the curtain, the magic Oz. So, yeah, I was giving it some thought, and I said, you know, aside from the whole obvious suck-up gift of a ClevelandMoto gift card, whatever the hell they have,
We already had one guy try to buy one of those tonight.
Yeah.
You think you're going to get away with it? No.
I don't even have a wallet. So, but I was thinking, you know, like back in the day, my mother-in-law used to put out an edict in the Christmas season. You know, what do you want for Christmas? And so the first year, being naive and newly married to her daughter, I said, well, I'd like some wool socks and some blah 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 hiking gear because I used to walk around a lot at that point.
Very reasonable.
And so I ended up with a pair of wool socks that
Right.
were about 60% cotton.
Oh yeah.
And some other shit. And I wanted a fleece.
Okay.
So she was super prudent. She bought her son a membership to what's the sports thing? Sports Illustrated.
Okay. Yeah.
They threw in a free
Thought
fleece.
she hit you on the
Oh,
head and just
yeah?
your wallet.
So no,
She
she's-
totally got fleeced.
No, she's a sweetheart. This woman is a sweetheart.
Yeah.
So
And she listens to the podcast, so you know we got to talk
I'm
nice
gonna
about
send
it.
her a link. So
need all the patrons
But
I can
anyway,
get.
so that year I got these effed up socks I couldn't use.
Right.
A fleece that
Was from
was
Sports
cool. The zipper
Illustrated.
broke like the second week, and that was fine. I used it around the house with my lounging pants. But so the next year I said,
Smoking jacket.
I said, so here's the deal, Mom.
10 kids.
Here's the deal, Mom. You want to spend money.
She has very tight underwear,
No, silk boxers. You don't want to keep the boys cramped up. That's
says
not
the guy
healthy.
with 8 kids.
So
8. That was 10 years ago.
And polo clothes.
Wait, we got to finish the story here.
Anyway,
I dare you.
The short version was that I gave her a list
Yeah.
from Campmore, if we're allowed to say Campmore anymore. They don't think they exist anymore.
Yeah.
I just gave my father-in-law the freaking catalog with a bunch of stuff circled.
Sure.
He went on the internet.
Yeah.
He was done in 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
I became a hero and set a precedent in the family.
Oh yeah.
Within 5 years, everybody's getting gift cards in their stockings,
right on.
right? So it took some of the romance out, but it was efficient,
Yes, it is.
right?
Yeah.
Which we can all
Efficiency of
appreciate.
Christmas.
Gift
Says the
cards-
man with 10 kids.
As we get
Gift cards all
older,
fit.
we can claim the efficiency card.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, that's right.
But so all that be damned. So I thought, you know what? I want tools. Like now, like
Yeah.
I have, the person that sent me the text. I told him I instantly replied. I have everything I want.
right.
because I do, right? And so I said tools. Like I'm always like one more tool. Like, oh, this thing I've never done before. I need this whatever.
Yeah.
Like for instance, this week I needed to remove some valves from a bike, and I didn't have a valve compressor.
Right.
Valve spring
I
compressor.
didn't have one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never had to do that before.
Right.
So I finally broke a bike to the point where I need one. Sweet.
Nice. Good.
You know, right? Huh?
Congratulations.
Well, it came pre-broke, so I can't take all the credit.
And now you realize how awkward valve spring compressors are.
You know, I was surprised that it worked so well. I was going to make one out of an old socket and a grinder, you know, like everyone else.
Yeah.
But I thought, no, let's not be creative.
I've done valve springs with like, just like take a wrench and hold it down and pick 'em
Screwdriver
out,
on the other
like,
side,
I mean,
yeah.
you can
Yeah,
get
but
'em
you
out.
have the finesse I lack.
Oh, I didn't get it on the first, second,
No.
third, fourth, fifth. It took about 50 tries to do
Yeah,
that.
this is like prompt.
And
I can't do that.
four
But you're
Band-Aids.
so
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what I think. Like, I'm all about like, if you want to buy me a Christmas present, which I have a long list of people standing in line to buy me shit. But if you do, like,
Yeah.
I'm all about like, here's a link. It's
Yeah.
it's like I was listening to another podcast today. A dude that's pretty influential, bald, and likes jiu-jitsu, and he was talking to a person he was saying we're doing this whole democratic process. In the 90s, we have the internet now. We don't
Right.
have to participate in this process
No, we
at
don't.
that level.
Right.
Christmas the same way, dude. Let's get into like we have the internet. You want to buy me shit?
Right.
I have a list on Amazon right now.
Of course.
I have a list at wherever.
Plenty of people want to
It is-
give me
it's
shit.
public.
Nobody wants to buy me shit.
See?
Hey, there
right?
you go.
Right?
I'll give you some shit. Yeah. That's it.
Let's be efficient.
I bought
Oh,
you
yeah.
something.
You did.
that's true.
And thank you again, Steve.
And legit, it is something that I didn't know I wanted, and now I have it, and I'm happier.
Right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what.
This is it.
You guys
My
are
cats are going to hate you
trendsetters.
for
This
it.
is all
Campfire.
over social media.
Ooh, I wonder if a milk ring
You're
will
like an
fit in there.
influencer right now.
I forgot I had that.
Yeah.
Lost in a cap.
Oh yeah. God. The anyone else got Christmas gifts that they wanted? Something that would make their whole complete?
An arrow stitch jacket.
Ooh.
I ain't buying it, baby.
Your kids are out of college making some money now?
No, not yet.
Oh.
You're gonna get
Bigger stocking.
I'm getting a Harbor Freight log splitter, so that kind of takes up anything else.
Harbor
I'm
Freight
all
log
about
Is it
it.
electric or gas?
The electric one.
Yeah.
But you buy
$5.
mine.
I saw one the
Because
other day.
yours
that
isn't
had
at
two
my house
handles.
waiting for the right moment where I feel like,
Selling my electric one for like $20.
okay, bring it on over.
Does it have a trailer?
There
Done
you
deal.
go.
It's Black Friday. Go ahead
It
and
is
buy
Black
it.
Friday.
I can go. I'll wrap that up and put it on the
Right
Christmas tree
on.
for $20. Done.
Yeah.
difference.
Game on,
Here's your
brother.
$20.
Yeah. Make these deals at the
You said it.
podcast.
I
right?
got witnesses.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You don't want some guy coming across tomorrow.
Bust the
Come
deal.
and see
Bust the
what
deal.
I
Face the wheel.
Does it work?
Yeah.
It works.
Wow, there
Well,
you go.
kind of.
I want it.
It was a lightly broken log splitter.
I thought he dropped
Yeah.
some money.
That's everything in my world is lightly broken.
Cameron, when we were talking about making this a crackle cast until we realized it was like one Canadian out. So we decided that we were going to we put this up to a vote of the podcast people, like who wants to do a crackle cast, an outdoor cast versus an indoor. Sorry, John.
Well, the
And-
funny thing is, when you sent the kill,
Yeah.
I had just typed up this long text message. I was putting in my vote, and I was like, well, I have a fireplace. We don't have to do it outside, and I have a heated garage and everything like that. And it's okay. I don't care whether we do it here or do it today. And then I looked, and I was getting it, and I flipped back and forth or something like, oh, they already killed that.
I
So good.
murdered that idea. But Cameron was like, I would like to vote no twice.
Yeah, double no.
He voted double no. But his big thing was he'd gone to Harbor Freight and he bought one of those shop carts. Like so these shop carts that we have at the shop, they're
what I was
like
looking at.
4 drawers or whatever.
The general.
The General.
General, yep.
And I think we have 8 of them or 9 of them. And so it used to be the thing when you'd start working at our shop, we would officially push one of these in front of your workstation and tell you, fill it.
I haven't worked here in 5 years, and I
you
still
still
have
have
one.
yours.
Yeah, I need to get
Nice.
Which is true.
You should come back.
So John, yeah, you're always welcome.
I could always lose my job.
That's true. And I'm calling in reports on John right now. That motherfucker. But so now at Harbor Freight, they now have the ubiquitous red 4-drawer cart, but they have it in all these fruit flavors.
Which is nice.
So they have it in 7 different colors. And they've got it in Kawasaki green, they've got it in KTM orange, they've got it in Ford blue, Yamaha yellow,
They're proud of those.
and black. Right. And
Vader.
and
Vader.
red. What's that?
Vader Black.
Vader black.
Camaro
but they
pink.
also have it in fuck you white.
Stormtrooper.
Like seriously, fuck you Catholic Church white.
I need a new box.
Like the Vatican's toolbox. And
You don't want to look in there.
I wanted to buy it just as a fuck you, because no mechanic should ever have a white tool chest.
No.
It is the emphasis. The worst thing we did when we moved into this building was we painted vertical surfaces white. So if you look, the pillars in our building, right, the beams that hold the ceiling up are all white. And
Those
the
are
doors
white?
are white.
And all your slat board.
It is white. And the fucking doors into the mechanics bay are white.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something.
Bad choice.
Bad choice. Bad choice. There is nothing. Like, you think a 3-year-old can fuck up a surface. You think you need, like, Sherwin-Williams, semi-gloss everything everywhere so that you can wash the boogers and blood off. Meet a mechanic. Because you'll want to high gloss everything.
Yes.
And you'll want to make things the color of, like, 10-year-old transmission grease brown. Like, that's what color everything should be. Everything should just be like urban camouflage. And the pattern of urban camouflage should be handprint camouflage.
Battleship gray. That's
Battleship-
why every shop, every 1950 shop, Battleship
No,
gray.
that was all goof mix gray.
Yeah.
That was like, they called the paint company and went, we need 500 gallons of mistakes. And the paint company went, sure, it'll be over in the morning. And then
we
that
got
was,
it out back.
and that's what color the factory got painted.
Or Slovenian green.
Slovenian green. That's the official color of the Russian military. Slovenian green. Yeah, Eastern Bloc green. And like I said, the dumbest thing you can do is have anything white in a service department or anywhere there's mechanics, because a mechanic cleans his hands on the sandwich he's eating. Like, that's how a mechanic gets his hands clean.
That's how the English pasty was invented. The English pasty was so you could hold the crust.
You could hold the crust
and
and
you
eat
eat
the
the
sandwich
center out of it and then throw the crust away so your
genius.
dirty hands don't.
I had no idea.
Yeah, pasty.
Wow, that makes sense.
So me having a terry cloth towel on the side of my shop thing is just wrong.
Well, but the thing is, like, some guys work clean, some guys wear gloves, and other guys just say fuck it, and and just pick
I'm clearly in the
their
fucking
teeth with
category.
the metal shavings in their
It's
fingers.
just commando mechanics.
I was helping a friend of ours do a brake job last weekend in my garage, and I was like, "Yeah, grab the thing." And he's like, he goes the opposite way, and he's like going in his pocket. I'm like, "Just grab the brake rotor." He's like, "I got to glove up, man." And
Oh,
I'm
he's
like-
gonna glove
I
up
was
before he
like,
grabs the brake rotor.
Oh,
Gotta glove
I'm
up.
sorry. I didn't know you had to glove up.
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
Glove up.
He's like, he was all apologetic. He's like, I know. I'm like,
Sorry, precious.
It's a carcinogen.
All right.
Dude, the funniest thing I've seen in a while with gloves, I was shooting some plumbers, and one of the rules is they have to wear gloves. Where they didn't have any, so all they had was rubber gloves.
Yeah.
And the dude was demonstrating a snake.
Oh god.
So he put it in there, and he's backing it out, and the snake started grabbing it, and the rubber gloves like rubber, and it pulls his hand down. He's like, ah! And I got it on video. I'm like, totally cool, dude. Just keep going,
You
man.
never wear gloves when you're running a snake.
Every mechanic wears gloves, rubber
Running a
gloves.
rotating
Anything
Exactly.
rotating, right?
Yeah.
Any rotating mass whatsoever.
I want to tell the
What-
pony steal story.
Go ahead, dude. Get it.
So I used to work in a cabinet shop when I was a child, before labor laws. And the machine shop across the street, there was a dude that had a ponytail, and he was running a drill press. Yes. And so he's running a drill press, and this drill press was notorious for walking himself across the shop. The only way to get the drill press, it was a big drill press. The only way to get the thing back into place was to have it running so he could vibrate it
Yeah.
and
Push it
simulate
back.
up the hill it had fallen down. And so he's doing this, and he was not a large man. He was just a little slightly built. And he put a shoulder into it, and it grabbed his ponytail, and it wrapped around the chuck
Oh, God.
as it was running, and it ripped his hair off and started beating him in the face.
Oh, with his own scalp?
With his own scalp. So not only did he lose his hair, he had contusions and a broken nose from his
scalp.
head beating him in the face.
I need to let that seep for a while.
It was a while before I could operate the drill press without a hat on.
Or
was before
maybe you
YouTube,
could
right?
get some fucking
wait.
tap cons and a masonry
is
bit
in
and
the
lock that fucker
90s.
down, man.
Well, I mean, right.
I'm thinking like $9 worth of tap cons and a masonry bit. Problem solved.
That's like
I've
Now
been
don't
going
go
through all
near
this-
our grinder in the back because it's related to that one. So yeah.
But
I've been
that
going through all
story-
the safety modules at work, getting caught up because I don't want to get written up by the end of the year. And they had a picture of a guy with a lathe who got caught, and I will never be the same again. I'm like, oh,
Catch his apron?
it caught everything.
Oh, God.
A lathe too, because a lathe is at chest height.
And it's
You
torture.
It's
took
at
a human
nipple height. Yeah,
with a lathe that was running and the said,
yeah. And the
That's-
human just got fed
tangled
into
up in a lathe.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
The whole human got
He got
Up to his
Wait,
elbows.
no.
Hold on,
This guy
Steve.
did
That's a
not.
picture of it?
Yeah, this guy did not.
This is
Cautionary
like driver
tale.
training films.
Hoff
for
is
wood
not
training.
allowed to move the mic and then talk.
Oh yeah,
You're not
yeah.
allowed to do
No, he
that.
can lean into it.
I can't control him.
But no, wait, now,
I sit
Sorry.
beside him.
now Steve works with.
up in that
Okay,
mic.
Steve works
Get in
with
that mic.
some.
Face in there.
Where Steve works, they have devices that
He
are
won't let
actually
me
engineered to move thousands of pounds of
Oh, God.
poo on the end of a big screw
Nutrients.
into another place. So these have got to be thousands of pounds of torque, right? I mean, you're dealing with stuff that is the whole world.
There's safety. There's safety.
Get your pie hole in there.
I'm so glad this is on
There are
video.
safety lines
Yeah.
around the outside of them.
Holy
Around your ankle?
shit, man.
No,
Like
but they
a
don't
priest?
work
What do you
yet.
do?
Is it like a boat, like a jack line? So like if you're getting fed in the machine,
On
you're
it,
just,
it flops the thing over.
oh
and
man, dude, that's frightening. That's terribly scary.
not fun.
I bought a really kick-ass grinder years ago at our version of awesome, Playland, which is HGR. So HGR is where old tools made in America go to be re-adopted. Like they need to go find their forever home.
Lost land of toys.
It is the lost land of toys. You can buy robots there. I know you can buy
Conveyor
anything at
belts.
HGR. HGR is heaven.
Yeah, that place is great.
I'll be quiet.
So today was Black Friday at HGR. You could fill a cart. They have the shopping carts there. Anything in row 1, full shopping cart, $50.
I know a dude that works there and he didn't tell me.
I'm
pissed
saying
now.
again, HGR. So HGR is any factory that goes out of business. They go in and buy everything,
Liquidate that.
and they liquidate it, right? And so you can get like fucking genie lifts and all kinds of floor buffers and really cool shit for very little money. And you want to get like a variable drive or something. These are variable drives for big devices. But it's so fun. Well, we bought a grinder there. Oh God, Jesus Christ!
PPE,
Literally, he shot you in the
polycarbonate is your friend.
you safety
Like
glasses.
in the face.
Fucking Red Rider over here.
Right now.
Jesus Christ!
How we were
Did you overclock that thing?
Hell yeah.
What the shit?
Must have put
That is a very powerful beer cap gun.
Must be used some of his engineering Shazam over there.
Yeah, never give a guy who works for Rockwell Weapons Division
Yeah, right.
a fucking pop bottle cap.
Really, you
sugar.
just spit it.
Your bottle cap
I know
sugar.
what's going on.
Yeah, next thing you know, it's got a
little
fucking
spit on the
NASA
breach.
contract, shooting down Russian satellites.
EMP.
EMP device. All we know is there was a Russian satellite that used to be
walking
there, and now there's a beer cap.
Not anymore.
For
So
real.
Phil,
No,
at
I'm
least
good.
at where I work,
Yeah,
if somebody falls on the machine,
yeah.
I'd say, get out of that machine, you piece of shit.
Don't just flush it again.
Oh, that's fantastic. We purchased a made in Dayton, Ohio grinder that is 5 honest to God horsepowers of electricity. And when you turn it on, it makes this beautiful sound of like a very gentle stealing of power from the entire apartment complex next door.
The lights dim.
All their lights go dim. And then when you turn it off, you get like 3 hours to go run up and use it again while it's still running down. Because the bearings in this thing are the best bearings ever built, ever. And it's my favorite grinder. I love it. I mean, it's an amazing device. And I've never had the heart to bolt it to the floor because when it gets going, the dance it does, if you just step back from it, is magical. It's sugar plum fairy shit. And it's just kind of like, and it just moves a little bit. And it's a fun tool. Now, I think that if it ever fell over, well, I don't think it can fall over due to the laws of gyroscopic motion. I think that if you...
It would just dance around.
It would literally just dance. It's like one of those Boston Robotics devices. If you kick it, it just sort of says, "What did I do to you?" And it keeps on grinding. Yeah, I love that thing. And when you get...
Does it have its own website?
It has its own name.
Grinder.
So,
.com.
what will it grind? Will it grind? It'll grind. Trust me, it'll grind. I love that thing. And I've had 2 or 3 Harbor Freight grinders that we purchased that are not worth spit. Like, if you're buying a Harbor Freight grinder that weighs less than 30 pounds, fuck you.
You buy grinders by weight.
You should. You really should. If you're buying a Harbor Freight grinder that's less than 30 pounds, it will grind your fingernails. And that's it. You know, it'll take the calluses off your feet, maybe.
That's the cool thing about the city. Like, you go in certain places
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and there's stuff that's been there for a long time. It's like compressors that are ridiculously huge. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
damn, when they bought this, they meant to never have to buy another compressor.
They were like buying the last compressor they'd ever
They
buy.
run it like 4
I was going to say it's got 3 hours on it. Nobody knows how to start it. Yeah. I mean, that's a funny thing about buying tools is it's really fun when you buy a tool and you overbuy the shit out of that tool. It's so much fun.
Well, it's like the city can only get a contract with somebody who's going to, like, the top end vendor that's going to, you know, it's a ridiculous amount of money. But
When we saw the city's
only the best.
contract.
Because we have a Dayton drill press, a Dayton grinder.
I got a Dayton grinder.
Everything
yeah.
is Dayton.
Yeah, our grinder setup in the back is a Dayton grinder, but it's from 1953. You know, so there were no safety rules. People are like, "Oh, is there any optic shielding on that?" Fuck no, optic shielding. Close your fucking eyes, dick. Safety
what eyelids
squints.
are for.
Safety squints. Yeah, come on, man. What the fuck?
Oh, I'm going to
dick
use
in
that
advice.
one.
Oh.
If I ever get busted, I'm like, I was doing the safety
Safety squints, man. Look, I think. See, I really didn't do a lot of stick welding. I kind of started with MIG. So I started with MIG, and with MIG, you really don't have an option. You have to wear eye protection with MIG. If you don't wear eye protection with MIG, well, you don't get to see anything for a while. But stick, you can kind of get away with it with dark glasses. And so the first time somebody was teaching me how to stick weld, they were like, okay, put your right hand here and hold the metal together. And then start heading at it like you're going in blind and drunk, and then turn your head away at the last second. Check. And they must have been right, because when I bought my first stick setup, it came with a shield that had a handle on it.
Yeah, you're right.
But those aren't even
It had a
near
handle
rated.
on it and a number 10 piece of glass.
Oh God.
And I was like, well, if you're holding the part with your right hand and you're holding the electrode with your left hand, who's holding this fucking visor for you?
Your partner.
Clearly.
It's got a 2% duty cycle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you basically learn how to stick weld. You know, you close your eyes and blast it, and you tack it, and then you make the run from there. Well,
Wow.
I had never, and then when I got into better, you know, when I got into more evolved welding, but for me, stick welding most people learn how to stick first because it's Farmer John rules, right? But I happened to learn how to MIG first. So when I got introduced to stick welding, which, by the way, is its own beautiful art, the first time that I stick welded, I was like, this is so much better. Over penetration is the name of the game. Yeah, it's like, yeah. Oh, hey.
It went off.
It's a live, way to hand her a live gun, huh? Wow.
John,
The good news was there wasn't one in the chamber. Seriously.
We weren't that far yet.
My God, man. Holy crap.
Just wants to see how the action works.
John,
You should dry fire this a few times. Yeah, make sure it's okay.
you should get the stickers from AVE that says like engage safety squints.
Not to be
and
operated
stuff.
by fuckwits.
And put it on all your machinery.
This is an unabashed, and I will do this. This guy's brought me so much joy in my life.
Oh, 100%.
AVE channel. He sells a bunch of stickers for like nothing, and he's got great stickers that you should put on every machine you work on if you work on machines.
Yep.
And if you're one of these people that still to this day makes things, fixes things, or repairs things, go and give him some money and watch his channel,
Totally worth it.
because our YouTube channel is mostly this. You've been wading through it for the past hour and 22 minutes.
But put your galoshes on.
Right. But his channel, actually, you might learn something. No, you're always going to learn something. And the fact that he's Canadian just makes him adorable.
He made pancakes. He made pancakes today.
He did. He made pancakes today.
So we
That's
all
good.
know.
So, yeah, just,
We
that's
all
it.
watch the same thing.
Right, exactly. So there we are, right? John's rotating the mic. Oh, yeah, there you
Can
go.
I just say that none of this is my fault? The audio stuff. This
Yeah.
is him and him and him.
And all the audio
it's
shit is
not
your
about
fault because you gave us
fault.
a cap gun.
Yeah.
Literally
I'm
a
on your
cap gun.
team.
Yeah.
I am on your team 100%. You're the one who asked me to try.
It's a good thing now that we're putting up an old podcast along with a new podcast.
Right.
So one of the two might be listenable.
Right.
Your odds of getting a reasonable, rational podcast have gone up 50%.
Yeah, the bar was really low,
Those
so
were in
this
an
one's
actual
will look
sound
really
studio,
good.
so
Yeah, they were. They sound tight. Yeah, they're
Like a
pretty good.
Twigger.
But you guys behave
Twigger?
because I've asked for some rules and nobody follows.
Wait,
them,
whoa, whoa,
so,
whoa,
you know,
whoa.
Fuck you, man.
Oh, here
You're
we go.
following the little
You're gonna have to-
squiggly line over here on the side.
Did you
man.
laminate it and post it? They're not rules.
Did I sign off on it?
There was
If I didn't sign off on it, I haven't
you
been
put those through document control.
I have only smashed my cap gun into this mic 3 times.
Oh my God.
I'm way ahead right now.
It's your fault.
You hated it. Oh, by the way, thanks for You hand wrapped each of these devices.
Yeah, he did. He did hand wrap.
That meant
That's
something.
pretty rad.
I'm not. That's not.
I did not. My 5-year-old daughter did them for me.
Nice.
I wasn't going to say that it looked like a 5.
He's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow.
Look, somebody had to do it. This fucking podcast was grinding itself into the goddamn dirt a long time ago.
So nobody wants anything.
Got
for
him.
Christmas.
So because we do have podcast listeners now who actually decided to give us actual cold hard currency because they listen to this shit.
Disappointment of life.
We have got people who are giving us money. They've been tricked into getting a fucking hotline number.
You're gonna get wise.
No, I know, for $10 a month, these people, our listeners, I like to call them Cleveland Motards. They have been tricked into giving $10 of their fucking their scrit. You know, this is it. Yeah, their kopecks are all coming to us, and they're sending us things.
Sorry.
So
that?
so there's this dude, Big Ben. I'm not making that up. His name, Big Ben.
He's so good.
His name was Gentle Ben. That'd be great. He says that his 18-year-old son Robbie and I really enjoy the podcast. If you've got an 18-year-old who sits still long enough to listen to this train wreck, well done.
Those are good zip ties.
Yeah, that's those are like law enforcement grade zip ties. That's for real. He's like, the new sound equipment's really made a big difference in the podcast. Well done,
Thanks,
Steve.
Sleepy.
Thank you very much, Sleepy. Good job. He says, now the content, that's a different story. That's right.
Got
You're
it.
fucking
All right,
riding
I'll
this
take that one
train,
on the chin.
motherfucker. He says, joking, we love it. We're on our way to the IMS in Long Beach because, the motorcycle shows have started already. And so the people that live in the beautiful states are getting them when they're fresh. We don't get them until they're well fucking worn out. So like all the announcers are burned out and people have been living in hotels for 14 weeks by the time we get that shit at like late January. No, we're not as bad as Minneapolis. They get it after we do. So Minneapolis gets our sloppy seconds.
fourths.
Yeah, it's not good. Not great. So he says one of our favorite things every year was watching people, or one of our favorite things last year was watching people crash the Zeros into the walls. So Zero has a road show at the IMS, and they bring a bunch of Zeros out, and Yamaha brings out a bunch of electric bicycles, and they let people ride them. People who are not checked out on that shit. That's awesome. And they have a thing that says no motorcycle license, no problem. We've made carpeting and plastic walls, so you could they've gone full Nerf.
Plus they wear hockey helmets.
You literally ride to the training area in a short yellow bus. It's cool.
This thing.
Yeah, it's great. I can make that joke because I had one. So
I've seen a few people now post videos of the Harley Livewire riding at that show. They've let
No. You mean the Harley Livewire that was cast into a life of bondage?
Right.
Right. Bolted to the floor.
No. This is they.
Oh no.
They let Mototrex, the guy who does the Mototrex videos and stuff.
Yeah.
He rode it in the parking lot and he was doing figure eights. But to his credit, the greatest thing he ever did was he added Harley noises to it when he did it.
Oh, he dubbed it.
So he's in the parking lot and he's riding around. And
I
it's
thought it was the bike next to him making all that noise.
no, he put it
That was
over
him. He
it.
put a soundtrack in it.
Yeah. So
So this is a really fun thing because he says listening to podcast Epic number 2. So this is kind of fun because this guy found a picture of him and his dad in the 80s, and his T-shirt reads, "Hungry? Out of work? Eat your rice burner."
Oh yeah.
And for the record, I love him. So I'm going to pass the phone around real quick if it goes away. But yeah, the dude's wearing a Harley shirt that says, "Hungry? Out of work? Eat your rice burner." Because remember, in the 80s, a lot of people lost their fucking jobs.
Right.
And there was a very strong anti-Japanese sentiment because a lot of companies that were building shit in the United States outsourced that shit to Japan. So
Can I say that in 1980 I was laid off from General Motors, and I went to apply for unemployment, and I got $2,200 from the Trade Readjustment Act. So that's a tax they put on
Trade Readjustment Act.
So
Right.
that was a tax they put on Japanese cars that came into the United States.
So it was a tariff, and the money from it actually went to you.
It went to unemployed auto workers.
Okay.
So
all right.
having worked for General Motors in the wrong department, but they gave it to me anyhow. So I immediately took the American Auto Company money out and I bought a Japanese motorcycle.
Nice.
I bought my 81 Suzuki GS.
With your fucking tariff money.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So how's that for an insult?
I love it. That's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, this is the whole idea is, and that guy's T-shirt is great. I mean, I love the fact that dude he had his game on, man. Like that guy in the 80s had his game on. Eat your fucking rice burner.
He
And
also has 2 belts and a PBR.
oh, does he?
I don't know if that
The
counts
guy in
for
the
No,
right
that
looks
does
like Bono.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what
That's big. That would be Big Ben.
time, yeah.
Yeah, Big Ben. So so I love that shit. If you're a podcast listener, please keep sending us that crap
for
because
real.
I love that.
Send us your crap.
Send us your crap. We already got a dick pic, and
We got a
it
guy
was
who process.
Really?
Yeah, it was
You didn't tell us
Can we
about
pass
this.
that around?
it was Dick Cheney.
Was it wearing a helmet?
Dick Cheney.
It was Dick
oh.
Cheney.
No helmet.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
well,
it was
that's
just
not
Dick
safe.
Cheney. So I
Did
mean,
he
it's
have a
like,
helmet?
No, it wasn't. When the guy was like, "This is your first," and you're right. The other dude Big Ben does look straight up like Bono.
Or
Bono,
Casey
yeah.
Neistat.
And I
the
like the
Neistat
fact that he's
man.
wearing he's wearing the bandana around his neck.
I almost went bandana.
And the leather jacket, and he is wearing assless chaps. He's not wearing 2 belts. He's
Is that
wearing
what it
chaps.
Assless.
He's wearing
missed it.
chaps.
I zoomed in too far in the
Dude,
buckle.
Big Ben is. Ooh, God damn it! You've
All
overclocked
right.
yours too.
Dead-eye dick.
Shit! You just killed a
Mine
beer
has,
can
like,
with a
stiff
goddamn.
spot in the action, like right there.
I'm so glad we're wasting YouTube on this because now we have something that people can see. That's fucking kick-ass.
It's so much better.
Yeah, that's rad. So that's a pretty cool thing. Anybody who's on the party line deal, if you have the hotline membership, you can send us crap, and we'll read it. Yeah, it's right. Tech question, real quick. We have a couple of minutes left. Tech question: this is from John Carden. John Carden says, if you were to get your hands on a vintage Vespa, what would you look for, and what would you look to avoid? What would you do to restore one that's been sitting for a long time? And would you consider doing upgrades to it right away? And if so, what kind? So I'm going to break that down a little bit. That's a lot to
45-minute
swallow.
discussion
That
there.
is a 45-minute discussion. So first things first. If you do have a particular fucking DNA flaw that says, I want people to think I'm gay, and I want people to think I'm weird, quirky, and eccentric, and so I would like very much. What was that? Was that a ghost?
You want me
Renee
to go
just
check it
left.
out?
Oh, that was Renee. Okay, all right.
Yeah, she's been a while.
Ghost of
People
Renee.
do randomly walk in here if the doors aren't
Yeah,
locked. Yeah.
yeah.
So, first of all, I'm going to start by saying if I did have the idea of getting a vintage Vespa, and if I was going to make it exactly. If I were in today's market, I would actually look for a Rally 200. A Vespa Rally 200. They started in about the end of 72, and they went to about 76 or 77. The reason I would look for a Rally 200 is go ahead.
Is because they're awesome.
They are fucking awesome. Yeah, I think, was that your first Vespa?
No, it was my best Vespa.
Your Vespa.
And it was. Well, okay, so Merritt. So yeah, did you start with a P and then you got a Rally?
I think so.
Because you had the white P with the black plastic
Everybody starts
levers
with a
first,
P.
right? We all start with P200s or P125s.
What was the race bike that you crashed?
No. She only lightly crashed it. Sean Stevens murdered it.
Oh, it got finished off.
Yeah. She only
That was a
lightly.
P. P200.
Yeah, that was P2. The workhorse of the Vespa family. But the Rally 200s, right? Like, Rally 2s are just fucking miraculous.
Yeah.
Like, Rally 200s are weird bikes. If you're going to buy a Vespa, and if you want to, just buy one Vespa.
But it sounds like maybe he already has like one, in somebody's shed, maybe, or is he just looking to, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, I seriously don't know I don't know what his jam is, but what I'm going to say for sure is if you have the ability or you have the desire to go out today and hunt down a Vespa, if you want to have the whole experience, which is like hunting something down, killing it, eating it, and then restoring it from the ground up, then you should do that to a Rally 200, in my opinion.
Stay
Yeah,
away
so
from
this
VDD.
person says, what would you look for? So we'd look for a Rally 200.
We would.
What would we look to avoid? Everything else. No, I'm just kidding. We would look to avoid anything with 8-inch wheels.
Yep.
Do not do it.
That's smart.
Yeah, like VBB, VNB.
Oh, yeah, all that. So
Yep.
Yeah.
And all
What-
the little MBs.
Points, everything. Yep.
If it says
What
big.
would you do to restore one that's been sitting for a long time? So
Whole separate podcast.
yeah, right.
Yep.
And would you consider doing upgrades to it right away? And
Correct
if
sales.
so, what
Whole
kind?
separate podcast. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great
It
question,
is.
John, that you've asked here. So it's multi-part.
Mm-hmm.
So we will get to those apparently in
Is it a
another
starter
episode.
bike though? Is it the first bike he?
Let's do
He's
it.
gonna have?
Let's do it that way. Let's just do it like, dude, you've got it's game on right now. Somebody said you should buy a bike, and they went, would rather have a scooter.
If in my opinion, if it's gonna be his first
Yeah.
bike,
Yeah.
and he wants to go through Vespa,
Mm-hmm.
vintage,
Yeah.
P.
P. Oh yeah.
Also, buy another bike to ride while you're working on it.
Another good idea.
Yes.
Great idea.
That was something I
Yeah.
learned late in the game. I just was like a monogamous bike guy, miserable,
Yeah.
staring at my carcass on our lift. Well, I didn't have a lift.
When you
that's a
only own
lie.
one bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, you can sit in the corner and rot for a minute.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
but,
while I
but
wait
the
on
P's are
parts.
tanks. I mean, those things
Well, I'm not
are.
saying it's a
Yeah.
bad thing. I'm just saying,
No, but
It's the easiest.
if you want to
for sure.
ride
Right.
right
Right,
away,
if you're going to tear into it and work on it, you want something. Buy a Buddy 125. Enjoy the shit out of it.
Well, or buy a Stella. Stellas are
Stellas
so
are
cheap
great
on
too,
the
right?
ground. I don't know
are
where he's
cheap.
from, but
Yeah.
Stellas are cheap.
and
Stella
it's
is like
everything
having
that a P is with electric start.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
It's
Yeah,
like
right.
it is, and John's right. Having a Stella is straight up. It's a P with electric start. The frame is solid as a rock. The suspension's great. The brakes are amazing, and you can buy it for cheap, and you can ride it while you're working on the Sunday thing. You know, like
and
the
then you're not
show-off
hurrying,
bike.
cutting corners.
Yeah.
I don't really need gaskets. I mean,
No.
they're fine. They look good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you're fine.
Well, if you're talking about any old vintage Vespa, you're going to need crank seals.
Right off the tick. Yeah.
So I got a question. I've been following Odell Beckham Jr. on Twitter.
Yeah.
What,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What does he own?
So he just got from us. He got a Kimco Super Ocho. Sorry, Oscar. Fucking eggnog just came out the Mexican's nose.
Man, you're breaking me.
That's what we call them around here, the Super Ochos. And yeah,
That's great.
but yeah, he got a.
Because he tweeted out a whole bunch of stuff on that.
Did he really? Are we getting money? Are we getting
Are you getting your
internet money?
exposures?
Are we getting
You're
our
your
exposures?
Yeah.
Here's your open uncompensated.
No, should we look? Should
Okay.
we look? Should we look?
I don't know. I'm
The
Wait.
one
I'm not paying
podcast
attention.
I forwarded the article and everything.
yeah, I saw the article.
It had made no mention.
No, well, we saw an article that did say like he just got a scooter, but it didn't say like a Kimco from Cleveland Moto.
No mention.
No, exactly right.
He's having
So I have
much
a
fun, he
question
couldn't
actually
remember.
about that.
Yeah,
so
for real.
he was like giving
Yeah.
me a little bit of the
Yeah.
background, and he wanted a bike from you, right?
He wanted to trade us a motor scooter, a motor vehicle for internet likes.
right.
Right.
Exposures.
Right, for
Exposures.
exposures,
I'm
right,
an
yeah,
influencer.
exactly.
Right. He
But
wanted
yeah,
to
he's
trade
an
us for-
influencer with
not that
millions of
kind of
followers.
Right, exactly. Yep.
For $0
So
house.
why did you not do it?
Oh, well, I didn't do it because a little while ago, more than a decade, we did a we did
was
a
eight.
we did a little thing for this little company nobody's ever heard of called MTV. And MTV had this program that nobody ever watched called My Sweet 16 that had like 93 million viewers. And this young girl came into our shop and proceeded to buy not one, but 5 scooters for her entire entourage. Right? And her father is also a man of certain amounts of influence. His name is the Reverend R.A. Vernon. And they run a religious enterprise here in Cleveland, Ohio. It's an evangelical Christian church,
Not for profit.
yet makes billions of dollars and has their own jet.
Is that the word?
That is the word
The
church.
word
Thank
church,
you very
okay.
much.
Yeah.
And so it's the wordchurch.com.
Right.
Right. Trademark infringement implied.
Sorry.
So
Never heard
yeah.
of it.
So they're a mega million-dollar corporation, the word church. And so having sold somebody that has both local influence of astronomical levels, has their own loge, has their own jet, has their own everything, and also to a small company called MTV, and then having this TV show that was the cameras in the shop, going around and having, a half an hour program shot around, we saw exactly 0 extra sales as a result of all of this internet exposure and television exposure, strangely enough. Because the strangest thing is, I personally believe that internet exposure will lead somebody to making a purchase that is on the very light side of the thing. But when it comes to $3,000, which is the average price to our entry-level scooter, it's going to take a little more than having seen it on TV. And that's the weirdest thing is we have run into a lot of people that have said, oh, I'm going to give you all this free exposure. We've also run into some big bang ballers who come in here and say, look, my posse's going to come in and we're going to buy 12 of these. But you should give me one for free because I'm going to bring my whole posse in here and we're going to buy 12 of these. So you give me one for free and I'll bring you 12 more buyers.
That's postulating.
The thing of it is, though,
Yeah.
is if you're in Cleveland,
Yeah.
or maybe, where are you going to buy a scooter?
Oh, no, we are the only store in town.
I mean, at a point, there are
Yeah.
people from 4 different states coming here to buy
Absolutely.
scooters.
Yep.
So what more are you going to do?
So my initial response was, one, Odell Beckham, $44 million contract this year, might be able to afford his own bike.
He could wipe his ass on a
Right.
$3,000.
Well, first of all, he didn't buy it. His agent bought it for him. He never felt a bump, right? He doesn't even know what that bike cost. And the second thing is, very rarely have I ever seen anyone call to action by saying, oh shit, Ewan McGregor's riding a Moto Guzzi? I totally need to go buy a Moto Guzzi, right?
Steven.
We mostly just go, oh, Ewan McGregor's buying a Moto Guzzi. No.
Okay.
The dudes who buy a Moto Guzzi were already thinking about buying a Moto Guzzi. The Ewan McGregor factor just justified it to their wives who go, oh, he's dreamy.
He's such a twat.
Right. So
Ewan's my wife's freebie, by the way.
Yeah.
Hello.
I guess, I don't know. It just depends on, I guess, what you want it for, too. If you just want the cold, hard cash, then. there's no
But here's the
cold, hard
thing.
cash.
So,
Are we
like,
still talking about you?
I work in media.
right.
I work in media quite a bit, and we have a whole research department that does stuff. And unless you're like a makeup salesperson, where like that girl's makeup thing relates to actual people buying
Kylie
$7
Jenner?
thing or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But for things that are more expensive and things that are I think it's like 5 million followers equals $800 in sales,
Right.
for a company.
Yeah.
That's how ridiculous it is. So how could that ever?
The exchange rate is very hard to. It's very hard to put your finger on the exchange rate.
Right.
And the hardest thing for us is because we're a super tiny small shop, so we're only going to have an opportunity to sell through the door. We're only going to have an opportunity to sell about 200 people a year. So if we're only going to have an opportunity to sell about 200 per year, every single one of those has to be maximized. So you've got to get the most you can out of every single fucking sale.
You got to hit a home run
Every
every time.
single
Like you
time.
told me one time.
Right. This
You
is
know
it.
your customer best.
And this is the game. So
Catch the ball.
And how many football bros are riding scooters?
right. Well, and then this is it.
I see Rolls Royces.
Yes, you do.
You say that, but we had the Zigzag man who it was a very avid customer of
Well,
ours.
and another thing that really, really makes a big deal is as I was speaking to the management in this deal, the people that really wanted me to give them the bike for free, I was like, well, Tito Francona is not a person of low means. This guy is the general manager of our ball club who's taken us to championships. And this is a guy who's very well respected in the industry and in society as a whole. And that guy's come in and he's bought 3 bikes from us himself in person and bought the bikes and rides the bikes. And there's a goddamn bobblehead of him on one of my bikes that we sold him. And do you know what he paid for that bike? Full fucking boat. So,
Because he loves you.
well, and he's also a mensch. Like he's also a
there's
legit
that.
dude
Yeah, right on.
who appreciates supporting local stuff.
I wish he'd show up for a ride. That'd be cool.
He is a class act. And what hurt me and what soured the deal from minute one on this scooter deal, this OBJ deal, was the marketing company started and said, we want to work with a Cleveland business. We want to give our business to a Cleveland company. And then they proceeded to tell me how I was making a donation to the OBJ fund. Well, that's not giving their business to a Cleveland company now, is it? That's like falsely pretensing that you're going to be helping them when you're actually asking to take one of the 150 sales I'm going to make per year out of my pocket. So in the end, I said, you know what, you can shop. And like the management company was like, well, you know what, we respect the way you feel, but we're going to shop around.
Where?
That's cool,
Okay.
dude. That's great. That's fine, man. Again,
Send him a free hat.
off you fuck, man. And
Prelude.
well, again, I don't look. One, I don't hate on you. I don't hate on you. Yeah, I don't hate on
It's
you.
always
That's
worth
fine.
the ask, right?
Right. A lot of people said there's a statement that says it doesn't hurt to ask, right?
I agree
There's a
with
lot
that.
of people that say it doesn't hurt to ask. But you know what? Raise your hand if sometimes you've been hurt by somebody asking. Raise your hand if sometimes somebody asked you something and you're like, man, you put me in a weird spot just now.
I think the difference. I think
fresh.
maybe the difference here, and I don't mean to show my hand
Sure.
too much, but the difference here is if your head is at the end of the barrel.
Right. That's right.
You know, if you work for some big thing or a city or
Right.
a whatever, and someone else is writing checks,
That's right.
and you can fuck up a thing,
That's right.
and you go, hey buddy,
Whatever.
fucked up a thing, and they go, oh, cool, we'll get another one.
That's right.
But if it's your thing, and then like now you're buying cheap milk because you can't afford it, then it's a problem.
Right.
And so when these people come to you and they're asking you, hey, can you just drink skim for a month?
Right.
Is that cool?
Oh, powdered.
Or in our particular case,
Can you just drink cheese milk?
That sucks.
and we're not gonna,
right?
and I'll make no bones
Fuck
about
off.
it. Like if you guys want the numbers, I'll give you the numbers. If I give that bike away for free, I haven't lost the profit margin on that bike. I've lost the whole goddamn bike.
No, I get it.
So I've lost the price of the bike and the margin I'm going to make.
You've lost the profit margin on 5 bikes.
Well, here's the problem. That will be equal to my electric bill for 10 goddamn months.
And that's how I think of it.
Right.
Gallons
Go ahead,
of milk.
Chris.
Gallons of oil.
So why does Nicole ask that question?
Because,
Is she in marketing?
well, of course she is.
Hold on. You guys should have asked us to begin with.
No.
Well, no,
Only a
like,
marketing
I
person
don't
would have
work
sat through
for
this much
OBJ,
shit.
So I was just like, that is like
All right, you
not
can
it.
stay.
Like, well, out of curiosity, I do
Yeah.
work for the Browns, but
Yeah.
like it's more of like I'm on the marketing side and on the
Yeah.
corporate sponsorship side, and they like people pay money to advertise with us. So
Absolutely.
I'm always like curious
Yeah.
as to because
Why?
when there's an influencer, it's
Right.
just like yes, I want that, but like you're saying, like that makes sense to me. Like you have 200 people, you need to capitalize on that. Period. And I'm not going to do that.
And you know what? Even if he's got 20 million followers, which we all know there are influencers that do. And if somebody were to say Pootie Pie or somebody who's
Pootie Tang.
no, there's Pootie Pie.
Oh, I know
No.
Pootie Tang.
Right, that exists too.
A gamer guy.
I don't know what the hell any of that is.
So that's how relevant I am. So you get somebody who's got that kind of following that has millions and millions of followers who hang on every podcast or every YouTube
But I like
post he
some Booty
puts. If that guy comes up and gives us a ringing goddamn endorsement and says, I buy all my Vespas, I buy all my scooters at Cleveland Moto, I won't be caught dead anywhere else. The sad news is we are in a geographic-based business.
Yep.
Some, young influenced person in Butte, Montana
yeah.
is not going to ring my bell because we have something that you do still need sort of to walk in the door to purchase. And we do have something that is still a motor vehicle. So it still has to be registered and titled and all these great things.
I mean, you're not even allowed to put current models online, right?
No.
You can't go put current model Vespas on eBay.
I can't go throw them on discount.
Right.
But there are rules about running a dealership. So I can sell things, but I have to represent them as full MSRP and the whole deal. And when we look at something like that, a major influencer is going to be seen on one of our products. There's this actor nobody's ever heard of named Billy Zane. And, right? All right, okay, sorry about that. But the dude was in town filming a movie, and he rented a bike from us. And we rented the bike to him, and he went out, and he originally rented the bike for like 3 or 4 weeks. But then the shooting went long, and he rented the bike for 9 or 10 or 11 weeks. And by the time Billy returned the bike to us, he'd paid so much money in rental, he owned the goddamn bike, right? So he called me up, and this is an interesting thing because a lot of people you're going to deal with their handler, and then some other people you might deal with them. Yeah. And we started by dealing with his handler, but then he kind of came into the shop, and he was very cool. And it was funny because Mike Merriman, who worked for us at the time, was like, dude, I loved you in The Mummy. And he's like, I wasn't in The Mummy.
But I wasn't Titanic.
And then Mikey argued with him. He's like, "No, you were totally in the Mummy." And he's
wasn't
like,
your mummy.
"No, I wasn't in the Mummy." And watching Mikey argue with Billy Zane about being in the Mummy was fucking golden.
Oh my God.
I will never, ever forget that. It was beautiful.
That's nice.
But the interesting thing is that the person that we know who was helping Billy out when he was in town, like after that, like Billy Zane would come into the office, like he'd come into the shop on his own. So when he said, he's like, Phil, where do I drop this bike off? And I'm like, dude, you can leave it where the fuck it's parked. You own it. You paid us more than that bike is worth in your rental fees alone. Right. And he goes, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come in and I'll sign it for you. And you can throw it up on eBay and give the money to charity or whatever the fuck you want to do with it. I was like, that's badass. Like, that's super cool. And he came in and he had his like silver Sharpie paint marker thing and he signed it, Billy Zane, you know, love Pride of Cleveland. That's what we were called then. Cool. Yeah. Love POC, Billy Zane. And we did. And we put the thing up on eBay and we got some money for it. Good. And that was super fucking cool.
That's the way it's supposed to fucking work.
Well, it was super fucking cool.
Classy.
$85,000 later.
Yeah.
No, yeah. You know? And it wasn't like, and I'm not going to say.
Auction's an auction.
There was like some guy that was like, had Billy Zane's like, you know, face, you know, like cryogenic container scanned and published. Right, exactly. Yeah. He's like, I have everything, Billy Zane. I have to have the bike. You have no idea. It's very important to me. He's already masturbating as he walks into the showroom.
He just sniffs the seat for like 4 minutes. He's like,
how long did he have this bike?
Titanic was the shit. I
smell the seat.
So that happened. Now, so we've kind of, again, we're a 20-year-old company, so we've seen some weird shit. And the funny thing was like,
Chris?
we had
Let's finish the story.
I'm going to finish the story. When the MTV thing happened. So when the MTV thing happened, because there was also a documentary biker build-off show that was shot with us that never saw the light of day.
Orange County Scooters?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. No, it was a biker build-off thing that they shot with us.
My heart.
Right.
Is that the one that Dustin offered to direct?
No, but it was one that did. I mean, that they did come and they kind of like they set it all up.
Actual people.
The actual people. It was an actual thing, and it was really weird. But the one that did happen was the MTV thing, and so we kind of like, we're not stupid. We've been in this situation before. Nobody's meant to look good, right? The idea is that everybody looks at varying different levels of stupid because that's modern world. In the modern world, you're either a protagonist hero or you are awful, right? And I spent my time in this thing trying to not besmirch my own company. And they spent their time, the production staff, making the 16-year-old girl for Super Sweet 16 look as awful as she possibly could. They did a character assassination on her from the word go. And every single one of these, if you happen to have watched any of these programs, they're usually all made, I call it the Jerry Springer thing. You watch it so you feel better about your fucked up life. And you're like, oh, well, I'm not as ridiculous as she is. And that's the media machine that you got to be very careful with. So ages ago, somebody told us that we could get a lot of free press by giving a local Cleveland radio celebrity a free scooter. But you see, what happens is, it's the guy they shit on. So it's the guy in the radio show that gets no respect. And to further the whole no respect game, they were going to put him on a scooter.
That bastard.
Right? Yeah. And they kept on telling me about how much press I was going to get because this guy was going to show up at events riding this bike.
That'd be really dumb.
Positive or negative.
Thank you. Yeah. You nailed it. Yeah. Okay. You nailed it. So this whole thing was sold to me as being a marketing genius program. The point is, association is important. Yeah. Now, as much as I would love to love any Cleveland Browns player or whatever, that's kick-ass. And I'm more power to them for everything they're doing because they are giving people something to watch and rally behind every Sunday or Monday. And they are the heroes, the gridiron heroes.
I beg to differ.
Well, but,
the Browns
okay, again,
suck.
No, I don't get it, though.
I'm from Pittsburgh. Fuck
right.
you all.
Well, yeah. And that's their thing.
What?
Yeah. But the point...
I'll club you with a helmet.
But I guess the point is, if we ever felt that something was going to be as strong as wearing a $250,000 watch against the rules in practice, just to get in trouble for wearing the $250,000 watch and pay a $40,000 fine or whatever the internet says it was, the mythos of that is bigger than the actual event or bigger than the actual promotional money behind it. Now, the company that sells the $250,000 watches will say that this was shrewd marketing. But I'm not in that sandbox. So we're still in the sandbox where we like quality human beings that we can relate to love our products and tell their friends about them and have them show up at the shop and get their shit. The weird thing was I was never approached by OBJ.
Right.
I was approached by his fucking handlers or his marketing company or whatever. So I owe a lot less to somebody in LA who's just doing their thing as a business than I do the guy who shows up here, like Terry Francona, who shows up and he's like, hey, I think it's time for a new scooter. You know, could you do me a favor and drop it off at the, at the playing, you could drop it off at the field because we're only going to be in town for a couple of weeks between spring training and here. And I'd like to take the bike down to spring training. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll bring it to your shop. Fuck yeah, I'll drop it off there and I'll pick up your old one too.
Because you're a real person.
Because you're a goddamn human being who's going to work with me directly.
Absolutely.
And I take it there and I deliver it to him and he comes out and he picks it up himself and I show him where the buttons do on the new model because it's different than the last model and he pays attention. And in the case of the Cleveland Browns things, I handed it off to an equipment manager, right? And I explained everything about how the bikes works to the equipment manager. But then 5 hours later, I get a phone call saying, hey, you guys fucked us. This piece of shit won't start. I was like, no, dude, it starts just fine. It runs just fine. I explained everything to the equipment manager. Well, I never talked to the guys who were going to use it.
Yeah, end user, man.
The end user, the end user bitched to not guy B, and then 5 people later, they called me and accused us of providing a bad product.
Yeah.
Kill switch.
Right, well, it was the kill switch. Of course it was.
Always.
You'll have that. But again, that was step 1 in the briefing. But
And the owner's manual.
right. And also page 1 in the owner's manual. So,
Fucking book.
right. RTFM, motherfucker, right? So that's what we do.
Well, it almost reeks of like, hey, let's get one over on this simpleton shop owner.
Right.
He's, we're going to come in there and we're going to throw our weight around. And
I'm famous,
I don't know
motherfucker.
about
Give me
that,
free
but-
shit. So I'm famous. Give me free shit. There's a marketing company that gets paid by that person to get them free shit.
Or hey, maybe I can get it for free. Watch it here. I'll get. Look. We didn't have to buy this bike. I got it for free. Just
Right.
trying to get a notch in their belt.
Yeah.
A little deviation, but I
Yeah.
learned some stuff this week, and I'm pretty embarrassed to say, but also happy that I did. Apparently, when you buy a Japanese motorcycle, or maybe others, because I
Right.
haven't owned others, in the front of that book, there's like a whole fucking thing about tools and specs and how to use the tools and like all this shit.
RTFM,
I know,
man.
right? Crazy. And so I'm trying to put together this DRZ 400. And totally unrelated to scooters, obviously, because scooters mostly run in this shop. So, but I have. So this is why I'm on this kick to get tools for Christmas, because I'm like, shit. There's like 15 things I don't own that are just minimum. Like
Right.
you
Yeah.
own a motorcycle and you're going to work on it
You should
yourself.
have that.
Here's some
Yeah.
shit you should
You should
have.
have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I'm training some teenage kids to drive and a wife.
Wait, she knows how to drive.
I don't
met
mean
her.
training.
She rides
I
motorcycles.
meant that in the sense of helping her understand.
Teaching.
Yeah. But that's the first thing. Like before you even see the keys, here's
Yeah.
the book.
That's
You're
a
gonna-
good idea.
You're gonna sit in the
It's a
car
good
next
starting
to me
point.
while I drive.
Yep.
And I'm gonna ask you random questions because I have a limited knowledge, but it's way more than them.
Well, of course.
And I'm gonna ask you questions, and if you can't answer these basic questions, you don't get the keys.
Right. High school driving
Right?
instructor?
No.
Odds are stacked
Possibly,
in their
I never
favor.
took that class.
Yeah.
That
I like to
should-
tell people all the time, I'm not self-taught. I'm book-taught. I read the instructions.
I read the manual.
Right?
That's how I learned how to work on motorcycles. That's how I learned how to
But
do a lot of stuff.
growing up buying
I
a bunch of
actually
used
read it.
cars, my parents never had the book.
Right.
Yeah.
By the time they got the car, they were
Yeah.
lucky to have a glove box.
Oh, exactly.
Fuck a
Right.
book. And so when
Here's the clean spot where the manual used to be.
this is where the road flares go because you're going to be fucked on the side of the thing. Yeah, so it's interesting to me
Yeah.
to come into life a few decades into it and start to learn.
It is.
And I think, you get a guy who's in his, I don't know, I'm assuming 20s.
Sure.
Who's come into a bunch of things. And
Right.
maybe he's never seen an owner's manual for
Right.
anything because maybe they didn't have an owner's manual in their Caprice either. I don't know.
He probably can't read an
just
analog
saying.
clock.
I'm just saying, and this isn't a judgment on a person, but on an
Yeah.
idea. And so the idea of actually reading the instructions
Right.
is like, even you get a new phone, it doesn't come with a fucking book anymore. You got to look it up.
No,
It's-
it comes
it's
with the phone.
on the phone, right?
Right. It's on the phone.
I think.
The instructions
I
are
keep
in the
buying
phone.
them off of eBay, and they
Strangely
don't have
enough.
But yeah.
Well,
And so-
but that's even with we were talking about the scooters, the old manuals for the Vespas even had like the schematics in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
yeah.
had a lot of stuff that
Hondas,
right now
same thing.
they're not even including in the newer manual.
No,
crazy,
I will say, you guys, I have to check
Okay.
you on this.
Okay.
Because I will tell you, I'll open a seat of any Vespa in here, and I will show you a 140-page owner's manual.
Yeah.
They give you
It's got a lot of shit, right?
ridiculous amounts of information.
Do you need it?
Well, and that's
You
the
just
trick.
look it up.
It depends if
Yeah,
you're paying
exactly.
full or
So my
not.
husband is like
Yeah.
in IT, and I was like, well,
Yep.
we got the owner's manual for whatever it is. He's like, throw it out. I can find it.
My father-in-law,
That's a mentality.
yeah, my father-in-law's like engineer mentality
Yep.
is
40s. I mean,
he says if you're designing it right, it shouldn't need an owner's manual, right? So his whole thing is if it's designed correctly, it should require no owner's manual whatsoever. And that is correct, except for in order for us to dial out the stupid in a motor vehicle, which can kill you, right?
Yep.
There are going to be things. And now we were mentioning earlier these vintage Vespas. And if somebody comes in here and goes, I am totally checked out and I've been rocking a goddamn modern Vespa for the past 5 years and I am ready to get weird, bring me the two-stroke shit. I'm ready for some vintage. I'm ready for some vintage shit. And to that I say,
Why?
well, one, I'm probably not going to grant you that permission. But more importantly, imagine, if you will, a person that drove here today in a car, a modern car, right? Whatever car it is, I don't care. 5-speed,
imagining
6-speed, automatic, I don't care. But if you drove here in anything built in the last 20 years, now I'm going to roll up outside and I'm going to park a Model A
Stick.
Ford.
Stick.
No,
Ooh.
that's just
Oh,
a stick. A
wow.
Model A Ford. So I'm going to pull up a Model A Ford, and I'm going to guarantee you won't make it out of the fucking parking lot because the operating system for a Model A Ford was so radically different than what we use today.
You will fail the retard test.
There is not a gas pedal. Okay?
There's a retard pedal.
There's a retard, right? There's an advance and a retard.
Is there a
Exact-
spark advance?
There is. That's the advance and retard. It's right in the
there's
middle
a
of the
retard.
steering wheel. And there's a lever you can pull to advance and retard the timing.
You have a non-synchronized transmission.
Also true. And it is a tractor. So if you've ever worked a Ford tractor, you are more qualified if you operated an old Ford tractor to operate a Model A or Model T than you are if you've operated a modern car. So when people talk about, like, I've been riding an automatic transmission modern Vespa, now give me the keys to that Rally 200 or that Vespa, or Oscar's 1950s Vespa, it is a totally fucking different experience. And we see that around here when we have somebody that's been riding a modern motorcycle and they decide they're going to buy a vintage motorcycle and they realize that shit doth not go as planned.
I'll never forget
Verily.
the time that Phil sold a Stella to a kid who knew how to ride motorcycles.
Absolutely knew how to ride
Oh, I know
motorcycles
how to ride motorcycles.
his whole life.
So, we all used to run and hide when people would take their first ride because
First ride,
we've been through a few of them where they didn't last past out of sight,
we thought it was like, we seriously, we were convinced that this was like, do not look at somebody while they're having their first ride.
We don't want to be a witness.
We don't want to be a witness to the chaos because we've seen people leave our parking lot
Right
on
inside.
one wheel into the side of a parked car.
He did it 3 times.
Yep.
On a Stella.
Yep.
Ring, 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 ring. Bah! Landed it again. Oh, and I was like, he regrouped a little
Did
bit.
he sign the
Ring,
waiver
ring,
and did you get
He was the owner of the goddamn bike. Paid cash on the
fuck the
barrelhead.
waiver?
You crash that shit as much as you want. That's your bike.
On the third wheelie,
Yeah.
he ran into a car.
Third wheelie, straight up, ran into a car.
You can wheelie a scooter?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
a motherfucker. I would like to introduce you to my friends, number 1 and number 2 strokes.
Yep.
Oh, two-stroke. Yeah.
2 strokes
Yeah, yeah,
are
yeah.
magic.
Yeah, no,
They'll
that's
turn anybody into a hospital patient real quick.
My kid's given the choice between the XR100, which is a
Yep.
4-stroke,
Oh, yeah.
and the PW80, which is a
2-stroke.
minuscule little
Yeah,
2-stroke.
still.
Every time there's a line.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense to me now.
The 2 strokes. So if anyone says to you, I've got a 100cc 2-stroke and I've got a 100cc 4-stroke, the 100cc 4-stroke, you can give it to your grandma, naked, drunk, whatever. Nobody's going to get hurt.
It's a toothless ferret.
But you can,
Grandma might get hurt.
Yeah, right.
But,
Caught in a chain.
Right. Yeah. But you take a 100cc 2-stroke and give it to the goddamn Queen Allah of motorcycle riding,
Beast.
probably going to end up in the hospital.
Oh, that's fun.
Because 2-strokes are magic. One, they don't become fun until about 90 million RPM.
I've seen that.
And 2, they're about as predictable as an 80s turbo. They may come on at any moment, and they'll never turn off until you're in the hospital.
Well, they don't do a whole lot right down here here at the low end.
Yeah.
Ring, ring, you got to wick them up, get them going, and then all of a sudden,
See, yeah, that's fun.
I have seen the underside. So in my life, Dr. Waters just left, so I'll talk shit on her. So fucking leave the podcast early. You're at your own peril.
You earned
it. Game on.
So,
But she's still stuck in the parking lot.
ages she can't get
nowhere to
She's
go.
buried. There's 19 cars out there. So ages ago, we're in Coventry on Coventry Hill. It's a very mild hill. It's not a very steep hill, but she was new to the game. And so I trained her how to ride on a Honda CB3 or CL360, right? Cute little bike, 6 speeds. CL360 is good. 4-stroke, no big deal. So I take her off of that and I put her on a Vespa. So we get her this kick-ass little Vespa 200, P200. It's good to go. So we get her on this Vespa.
What could
and
go wrong?
We're pointing uphill, and we are literally pointing uphill. And to put it in perspective, I'm on a Kawasaki H1 with an H2 motor in it. So I'm making a lot of fucking noise.
Yeah.
I'm wearing factory brand expansion chambers. Now, for people who aren't initiated, when I say factory brand expansion chambers, the reason I'm saying that in such a fucked up cadence is because you would hear me say factory expansion chambers and you think, oh, he's on the fucking pipes that came with the bike. No, there was a company that was dumb enough to call themselves Factory. Their company was called Factory.
Yep.
And these idiots made expansion chambers for
I
a
see
whole...
what you did there.
Yeah, you see what you did there? Are you running factory pipes? You bet your ass I am, cop.
These are factory.
These are factory pipes, motherfucker. Don't
gave
put
us-
me in jail.
All the
They
best
came right from the
bars
factory.
Yeah.
that are called The Office.
The Office.
I'm at The Office,
Shows up on
baby.
a fucking shows up on an expense report. So I'm riding this thing, and it has like this bike is so outlawed. It has slip-on silencers. Like the silencers slide off, and you can carry them in your jacket. It is a two-stroke. It is a two-stroke that has a rev range that goes from 0 to hospital in like.
Yes, nice out.
Good out. Good out. That is well done.
two up for
They're
That was
putting
the
a lot
first-
of effervescence in the Zima these days.
That was the first Peter North Open by a woman.
I know. I like it. Yeah.
Truly.
The first Peter
Not
North
White Claw.
Open.
Yep.
It's the
No,
first
the
Peter
first
North-
Peter North Open by a woman today.
There you go.
That was wonderful.
I thought she had one earlier.
This is 5% alcohol.
It is. That is more power than the Natter Days.
Yeah.
That's right. So if you're drinking a Truly or I'm drinking a Natter Days, watch out for the fists coming from the Truly operator.
And it's a truly. It's not
It has
a.
pink flamingos on it.
It's not a claw, so you don't have to be a bro to drink it. There's no like
Exactly.
bro guy.
Oh.
Yeah. Santa Claus.
I love how that's called the soft parade. Yeah.
Cock it.
Hold on. Oh, wait. Here we go. So we're going to use
You
the
gotta
device
cock it
correctly.
first. Cock it first.
It's
No,
cock,
you
it's
don't-
cock, it's
cock it.
It's been cocked. It's
Oh, it went off. It was a premature. It was a premature out. Yeah.
User error.
No, dude, my bottle hand hit my trigger finger by accident. This thing needs a trigger
You
guard.
gotta
This
keep
is
a hand on
unsafe.
the cap when you're popping it like that.
Jesus Christ.
You need trigger discipline.
I do
is what
need
you
trigger. I have
fucking
really
need.
bad trigger discipline.
Watch your finger.
Fuck you.
Oh, shit.
Oh, got him right in the epiglottis. Got him. Yeah. Nailed him right in the third ventricle. So
Smile when you say
I know, right? Oh, here we go. This is a DeLovely high gravity ale fermented with blueberries,
She looks
strawberries,
depressed. What the
raspberries, and blackberries. It's Shorts Brew Soft
goodness.
Parade. And all I can say by the art on the label is it's a woman reclining in a strap chair at the beach
She looks fucking
saying,
bum.
I'm just done with people.
Yeah, she's like.
And you're making fun of this guy for drinking
Truly?
Truly?
Cool
You're
can.
drinking 10W40 for fuck's sake.
What
does it say?
$13.99 according to Ross Deli.
Now, wait a second. That says now,
Mexican hot chocolate.
Mexican hot chocolate 10W40.
Pass it around.
Didn't we
pass
have
it
a
around.
10W40
I
a
wanna see
few
that.
weeks back?
W40?
Somebody's got
10W40.
Yeah, I
no,
remember
that's good.
this.
I tell you what.
That's not good for
do I-
winter.
Heat
do I
it
bring the
up,
right
it'll
gals
become
or
more
what?
viscous.
I
The hotter you
believe
get
in
it-
miracles.
Girls, right? Yeah.
You sexy thing.
For the other
That is badass.
personalities that pop
Right.
out.
That's so cool.
You can open it up.
Yeah, that's it. You should totally. Now, I noticed the price on that says $13.99.
Per
It does,
can.
yeah, per can.
And it
It
does
says
look like it
product
came
of the
from
USA.
Farm and
What are
Fleet.
you talking
I
about?
don't know.
It's
My
made in
husband bought
Duluth.
it. Like, I don't know. Maybe it was just no. He only bought like maybe a 4-pack, so maybe that would be.
Then it's got to be
$13.99 for the 4-pack.
$13.99 for the 4-pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a pint.
If it was $13.99 a pint, that's only shit Daniel would bring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or make.
Yeah. Daniel's famous for bringing us the. Oh, do you like that? That tastes
For like
good.
20 years and bring it back then.
Yeah, right on.
Right next to
Then it'll be a
Jägermeister.
tequila.
Oh my God, it's so good. And by the way, I'd like to call attention to our table. It is looking like a proper Cleveland Moto podcast.
Yeah.
Only
I
because I
like
can't
it.
get to the
I like it
fridge.
without the table
Heavily
cloths and
littered.
stuff.
What's that?
I like it naked.
You like the table naked?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck it. I like it with a bunch of cans and bottles and
There
weird
are
shit on it.
stickers on it and the holographic.
Oh, no, you meant like you don't like the tablecloth.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, now that we've got the higher end recording rig, we don't need the tablecloth so much to drag the bullshit down. So,
Well, it doesn't help when people slam their cans into the table on a regular basis.
on a regular
Yeah, you know,
basis, that's exactly right. Because we have all the fancy stuff, we can get isolated from the noise.
I like how Oscar has a little sweet
Fuck you,
tooth for
Slippy.
Jägermeister.
Oscar does. I mean, yes, truly.
Mexican likes
The Mexican's gone German.
I like the Blancamenta.
I do like the Brancamenta.
I do
yeah.
like the Blancamenta.
Yeah, the Brancamenta is
It's so good.
badass.
What is that?
It's menthol flavored, mint flavored liqueur.
No anus.
So it's basically Fernet Branca. So Fernet Branca or
Fernet.
Fernet Branca, where you're from, which does taste like, Jägermeister or whatever.
Okay, so it's
but it's
similar.
done with a very minty thing. So like instead of being the flavor of dirt, it's the flavor of mint. Right? Yeah.
Minty.
And I like mint more than I like dirt because I'm weird that way. So yeah, go figure.
You're weird in so many ways.
Well,
Minty there, Steve
that's
Hoffer.
exactly right. So anyway, we're going to tell you a story about my wife totally fucking some shit up.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, so Dr. Waters, back when she was just,
Waters.
Shit
master
America.
of something
Yeah, yeah,
Waters. Right, exactly. So we were sitting going up Coventry Hill, and I was just dating her, and she was riding, I think at the time she might have been riding my ex-wife's Vespa.
Yeah.
So, yeah, game on. So I'm sitting there at a light, and I'm riding a Kawasaki with an H2, So the noise a Kawasaki H2 makes is devils fucking over demons to get a better deal. Okay? So it basically goes like, and it sounds like 1,000 skeletons jacking off in a fucking 55-gallon drum. The noise that it makes is like when you hear an H2 running with big ass fat chambers on it.
Yep.
I don't care who you are, you're just like, I have to go fuck that guy. I'll be right back. That's the noise they make. So my wife, though, is on a Vespa 200, which makes a noise that's more like tick, 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 and she can't even hear her own bike running. So I'm riding Mr. Loud and Look at Me with no rear shocks, like literally struts. It's a drag bike. It's got an extended swing arm. It's got a disc where the front wheel spokes should be. This is a drag bike that has been illegally plated to be on the street. And so I'm sitting there on this loud fucker, and she's on her bike. The light goes green. Ayo, good out. And I rev the throttle up to where you need to rev a two-stroke triple with a light and flywheel, which is about 93 million RPM, just to let the clutch out to go 3 miles an hour. Because they have no flywheel and they have no torque. It's all about the revs. So the light goes green. I rev it up to way too high. She can't hear her bike anymore, so she feeds it a bucket load of throttle and lets the clutch out.
I'm giving her all she's got. Captain.
Thank you. So she lets the clutch out on a Vespa. Well, the motor in a Vespa is in the trailer behind you. Okay? They didn't put the motor anywhere near the front of the vehicle. They put the motor under your butt behind you. So when you let the clutch out and you got some revs on, she wheelies like a son of a bitch, no matter who she is. And now you're uphill to boot. So what you normally do is you pull the clutch in until the front end lands on the ground again. But it's hard to let the throttle off when you can't hear it because the asshole next to you is at 9 million RPMs. So she pulled the clutch in and the front end went back down on the ground. And her little wheelie turned into a super big wheelie the second time she let the clutch out because the revs kept climbing. So she went from 6,000 RPM, engaged in a wheelie, pulled the clutch in because the clutch is your friend. Front end hit the ground again. She figured she'd let the clutch out, take another stab at it.
Briefly touchdown.
Briefly touchdown. Second wheelie was awesome.
With compression.
Oh, yeah. And much muy gusto. Muy gusto. So
At this point, you might as well just ride it out.
second wheelie was like 12 o'clock, mud flap gone,
Total cowboy.
rear part of the frame bent for life,
Oh yeah.
game on. And her feet are still on the floorboards, so I give her credit for committing to it.
Hang in there.
Hang in there, goddammit, ride it out.
Cowgirl.
Clutch goes back in again. Bike drops out of the sky. Front wheel touches ground momentarily, just momentarily. Orville and Wilbur Wright moment at this point. We're going for gold at this point. Exactly. One skip, and then I look to my left and realize we have a problem unfolding. And then I'm like, well, okay, well, I'll just slow down and deal with the situation. And I see the front end touch the ground again, and I'm like, don't let the clutch out again. But she couldn't hear that. And she let the clutch out a third time, but now she's at about 23 million RPM.
Which is optimal.
The bike decided it wanted to show you crazy.
Who's boss?
Right. And it said 360. I can do a 360. I know how to do 360s. Totally. You want to see a fucking full Luganus right here? I'm going to show you a full Luganus. And the bike jumped up in the air, threw her on the ground. She landed like Spider-Man on her feet in a fighting position because my wife is a fucking ninja. And the bike was still in the air. And so the bike landed on the ground, and the bike decided it was going to run up Coventry Hill on its back tire just to go see what was going on.
Right.
Because it didn't need a rider anymore.
It was still so wound up.
It was wound up, yeah. So it was wound up, and it decided it was going to take off on the left-hand side of the road, on oncoming traffic and whatnot. So it ran up the hill until it saw a Honda Accord and got scared and laid down. And then when it laid down right in front of the Honda Accord, and then the Honda Accord hit it.
Oh, wow.
Which punted it into the other lane.
It didn't fit underneath it.
No, it didn't fit under the Honda Accord. Go figure. Big surprise. And so I shut my bike off, which, by the way, if you ride a two-stroke, three-cylinder motorcycle with 750 cc's, you'll know you're never supposed to turn the bike off.
Yeah, it's never started.
There's a protocol for that. You turn the fuel off, and you wait until the bike dies of its own accord. You don't ever just turn it off. So I made the mistake of shutting my bike off. And we have traffic behind us. If you've been on Coventry Hill, you know what I'm talking about. So I run over, and my wife is clearly okay. She landed on her feet like a goddamn spider monkey. But the bike, on the other hand, has been severely fucked. It's been skid down the left-hand side and punted by a Honda Accord on its nether region. So I pick the bike up, and it's handlebars aren't pointing the same direction as the Vespa, but it's okay. We'll get it there. So I pick it up, and I push it over into my lane of traffic, and we get it over there, and I get her back together. I'm like, you okay, sweetie? That's great. That's good. You did a beautiful job. You wrote it out. Yeah. Well done. Get over here, Cowboy Bob, and let's get this situation together on the side of the road before the police come. Because, of course, I had historical plates on everything, and it was probably Tuesday, which, as we all know, is verboten. Especially in Cleveland Heights.
Unless you're dead,
right? You were going to a rally.
No, we were just left getting beers.
No. Going to an event.
The story is you're going to a rally.
That particular night, we were going
You
to
were selling it, and you were doing some wrenching on it.
It was a Tuesday night, so we were clearly going to do the selling on it.
That's why you have to be smart like Daniel and make up bullshit events to drive your bike around all the time.
Apparently, every time Daniel goes anywhere, it's to a goddamn event.
Yep.
Test ride.
So, long story short, once we get her shit together, and once we get the bike together, and once we get the front handlebars pointing the same way the wheels point, and all the requisite parts picked up off the road, then I go over to my Kawasaki and realize that it won't start because I made the mistake of shutting it off. And for all you guys who are like, exactly, carbs are full of gas, crankcase is full of gas, expansion chambers are full of gas. So here's the thing. One, on that night, we had 4 cylinders, right? We had 950 cc's between us.
It's a Ducati.
Between the two of us, we had 4 strokes, but they were all in the wrong places.
Right?
We had 9 speeds. We were sharing the strokes, exactly.
You
The
stroke
long
me,
and
I
short of it
stroke
is,
you.
if you think that you want to ride a 2-stroke, and you're like, "Ooh, man, all the cool guys got 2 strokes." I'm going to tell you something. Look at the cool guy's fingernails. Yeah, check the cool guys' bank accounts. See what the cool guys are doing on Friday night with their 2 strokes. They're usually replacing the top end, right? They're usually replacing seals.
Top end of
Well,
2-stroke.
It's like free.
Dude, 2-strokes rock.
Drive a 4-stroke, if it breaks, it costs a lot of money to fix.
I don't have all that problem with cam and valves.
Fuck a cam, fuck valves. I can replace the top end of my 2-stroke in like 45 minutes, brah. Yeah.
And you'll be doing it again about 3 hours later.
Yeah, exactly. Every time I adjust my valves, you replace a top end. Who's winning?
When you measure your riding in hours instead of miles, I'm lost. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I know, and that's the weird thing. And so when we talk about people that are like, "Oh, I'm going to get a vintage Vespa," really? Are you going to get a vintage Vespa? I think you're going to borrow a vintage Vespa. It's going to cost you about $3,000 to borrow it from my shop for about 3 months, and then you're going to realize that 4-stroke automatic was a damn good idea.
It's a lifestyle choice.
But there is a certain thing, like surfers always say, like catching the barrel or something.
Yeah.
There is that, like...
Really? Surfers say that?
Really?
Surfer, right?
Surfers say catching the barrel?
I don't know, whatever.
That's catching the wave, maybe.
Catching the hot white load?
No, what I'm saying is like
Hanging 10, dude.
they look for that moment where they're in the barrel. They're in the barrel and the ocean's crashing over them, right?
Okay, all right.
So with the 2-stroke scooter, you get about 4 minutes of that as it
the
explodes. So like right as it's about to burn out, it becomes super smooth, super fast, super awesome, and you're like, "This is the greatest thing ever." And it goes, and then it sees it.
I don't know what y'all are talking about. My vintage scooter's been great for me for the last 10 years.
Exactly. So now
I only ride it for 1 hour every year, but it's been great for me for 10 years.
It's the best hour in your life.
It is the best hour.
But the best that scooter will ever run is right before it blows up. Exactly the moment.
Or runs out of gas, either or.
Right.
Well, that's true.
This is painful.
Why?
I don't understand.
Wait, everybody stop talking. Phil's not
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
We're not allowed to continue.
So since Phil's not here, I have a question for you.
Oh, here we go.
Well, we can't hear you because you turned the fucking mic. So
Does Baker Mayfield really live in the stadium?
No, he does not.
Okay.
No, he does not.
because you guys have us believing that he's looking for the alarm system going off for the
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, Progressive has you believing that.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
And you're actually paying attention to that shit. I don't know why, but you are.
So, since Phil's not here, do you think he should have given him the free bike? Because I kind of sense that. I can tell that,
No,
that you
I
feel
no,
like...
I wanted to hear it because I mean, I heard a little bit like just from him, from Chris about it, and I wanted to hear like his
point of view.
His point of view on it, and no, I don't think you should get on the bike.
Okay. Because I asked her because I could feel like she was kind of like, maybe
Don't do what you should have.
Not until he gets his stats up, okay?
No, like, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's also a personal thing too, and it's like how you run your business, and I mean,
there's more
it all
to
makes
it.
sense. There's 200 people that come in here.
Right.
You're trying to make the biggest bang for your buck on every single person that's in here, and it's got to make sense.
And how about this? The sale that we ended up making anyway was actually more important to us than the potential million sales that may or may not have materialized.
Yeah.
So rather than having 1,000 birds in the bush, I took the bird in the hand.
Yeah.
Well, and you do a little thing every year called the IMS.
Right. Exactly.
And that results in maybe what, one or two
We'll
maybe
put
that
our,
you could tie back to.
So
International Motorcycle
we'll put our products in front of 50,000 people who've been proven to be motorcycle buyers. And we put our products in front of those 50,000 people when it's cold and they have nothing better to do. And
They're
really
desperate.
they need an
Paid
injection of
$15
motorcycles.
to walk in a fucking
Right.
joint too.
And we will present ourselves to them, and that usually leads to about 2 sales. So, and 2 to 3 verifiable sales from that. But the interesting thing is I'm in a very niche business, super niche business. So the people who are fired up about it, they're going to hunt me down. And the weird thing is in this, 19 years, we've done a pathetic amount of actual advertising. So yet we're organically Google #1.
Type in
first page
Cleveland
every time.
scooter, what comes
Or
up?
just type in Vespa. So just type in the word Vespa. Leave my name out of it. And if you type in Vespa and you're typing it in from anywhere in Ohio, we come up #1.
Right.
And I also think there's a monetary
Yeah.
limit to what influencers can actually influence people to buy. And I'm not saying that a golfer can influence somebody to go and buy a Bentley.
Right.
Because
That's
there's
true.
that level up
Yep,
here.
you're right.
But I think underneath $500 or something,
Yeah.
I think that if you have a makeup company, if you have a something else company where somebody can spend $80 or $90 or $100 and have it
Right.
shipped to their house, that might be worth to have somebody do something like that.
Oh, I'm
Right.
sure somewhere that
More of a throwaway product.
whoever's selling vessel screwdrivers is pretty goddamn happy. I got a hard on for that shit 4 years ago.
Oh, that's the
I
perfect
subscribed.
Christmas present.
I was going to say
Yeah.
anything with Vessel. That's Christmas. I was stocking stuff right there.
Well, and that's one of those games is nobody had kind of been chatting about it. And then we had a problem here at the shop. And so we had a problem at the shop and we fixed it by going to a particular tool from a particular company. Right. And then we, in our little bullshit world, we kind of said, hey, in case anybody wasn't paying attention, this is a thing that exists. And then that got picked up by that guy we were talking about earlier, AVE. And he picked it up and he said some shit about it as a result of me saying some shit about it. And then all of a sudden people are telling me about, have you ever heard about these vessel screwdrivers? And I'm like, yeah, it's got my dick all over it.
How do you spell it?
So yeah, I know what my shit smells like, right?
A
So,
vessel- For anybody who doesn't know, a vessel screwdriver is a beautiful little impact screwdriver. You put it in, you whack it with a hammer.
those are the
and
impactus, baby.
And it smells like his
I
dick.
bought
Well,
I bought the ball end ratchet guy the other
Be
day.
careful with Phil. He'll send you a picture of your can with his dick on it. And his phone. Don't ever let him go get
it's
your
already happened, didn't it?
This isn't
I won't
good.
share it, but I'll definitely go like this.
On the
Look at
internet.
this. This is hilarious.
Exactly. Yeah.
These packages both contain the same.
Worst thing I've ever done is hand John my phone.
What do you think about that?
It's crazy.
Well,
So,
go ahead, John.
not a gift for me,
Mm-hmm.
but for people, in podcast land.
Yeah.
If you want to get a gift for somebody who has motorcycles,
Yeah.
or Japanese motorcycles, buy them a good set of JP screwdrivers.
Yeah, JIS, man.
Yeah, JIS.
Japanese
Yeah.
industry standard. If you literally,
They are so much better.
if you want to be the
than
hero,
anything.
or better yet, if you want to find out if the guy that you're buying stuff for is a legit, straight up motorcycle guy or just a douchebag fucking hipster poser, get him some JIS shit. And if he's like, wow, you totally know me and I love you, that guy might be legit. If he's like, well, Phillips head screwdriver, well, thanks, man.
Sweet.
You know
Throws it
what?
in the
That guy
box
never
with the
knows
other
shit about
shit he
nothing. Yeah.
Get rid of 'em.
Yeah, right. That's exactly. So, I mean, that's,
I feel like
I,
there's like 1,000 reasons why to get rid of them, but
well, yeah.
that's just one of them, right?
Game on.
Yeah, that's number 82.
It is. That is truly it.
It's up in
The
the top of the list.
oh, here,
Fuck is that?
Oh, it's a crackle cast.
it's Crackle Cast. For anybody who really needed, we were talking about the Crackle Cast earlier.
Explain the Crackle Cast.
So the Crackle Cast is a couple of times when we were doing our podcast, we thought the podcast would be better if we were outside and we were burning things,
It's a bonfire.
sitting around a nice, lightly depleted 55-gallon drum of oil
That's romantic.
that was cleaned out using fire, God's own cleanser.
It's like at the Muni lot.
Exactly.
It was like NPR.
Yeah.
The great purifier.
The great purifier. Yep. Nothing
Breathing
kills
in the
bacteria
carcinogens.
like sunlight, except for fire. Fire kills bacteria.
Yep. Kill
And
everything.
we sit around and we bullshit, sitting around a fire, and then occasionally a fire truck would go by, or occasionally
That guy in
Right.
that diesel pickup. That was
Yes. just slow roll past our podcast. Yeah, so we were joking earlier because tonight, if it wouldn't have been like Canadian 1 degrees tonight,
Yeah, it's
because it is Canadian 1 degrees tonight, and yet Mike rode his bike.
but that's when nobody's out.
I didn't know it was
Sold out.
Canadian 1 degrees.
It is Canadian 1 degrees right
Fuck, I
now.
would have driven.
Yeah, it is Canadian 1.
He didn't know.
I need an Uber.
Well, on Cleveland.com today, they had like
Yeah.
I didn't get into reading it, but it was like 25 best cold weather outdoor bars, like patios.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
They got the outdoor heaters and everything.
I didn't
Yeah.
get into it because I was like, I don't do weather. So I sent it to my husband and I was like, hey, maybe this is something I can go for half a drink.
Half a drink.
Because I'll be like, I'm too cold. I gotta go
Clearly
inside.
didn't read
That
the
being
fine print.
said, like the Winter Fest or Winter Bright Fest or some shit like that's tomorrow.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, there's doing an outdoor something tomorrow.
Up in Ottawa,
I think we're doing something.
in Ottawa, they do an event called Winterlude. And one, I got to give them credit on the name because the gays thought they had the corner on Winterlube. And it turns out that Ottawa has the corner on Winterlude. Slightly different application.
Any relation to Quaaludes?
Winterlube has
Or
menthol
just
in it.
lube.
It has a slight warming effect.
Quaker
But they are
City lube.
cinnamon in it for Winterlube. But yeah, that's one of those things like
It's all about the viscosity.
it is. It truly is.
My vote for outdoor bars
Yeah.
is Market Garden
Oh, really?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
because they have a huge fireplace.
Oh, that's a good
Keep the
idea.
fire
They
going.
do.
Yeah,
They
Well,
right
do.
on.
nobody's out on the patio, so my wife and I sit out there and drink beers.
Nice.
And only the
You are
coolest
100%.
people
Will they still
come out and talk to you.
they still fire it
Say
up?
no, the
Obviously,
Only the cool people are out.
When I go smoke a cigarette, do you have a big patio back there?
Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah.
No, we have the entire all of Lorraine
Oh, the
Avenue out
front.
front.
Oh, okay.
That's our
Oh, I meant
spot
or maybe with a fireplace. Or
I'm
something.
sorry. This isn't a bar.
Sorry.
This is actually a motorcycle shop.
Well, I was
No,
going to say,
I know.
we don't
Okay.
necessarily have to have an
No, I
outdoor
know.
crackle cast.
Right,
I
right.
have a large fireplace in my
In your-
very nice large living room.
I love the fact that you have a fireplace in your living room. You're like, we could have it in my
That's big.
living room.
Bearskin rug.
There would be very good sound
That'd be
quality.
nice.
There'd be.
we'll set up there. Let's do it.
Floor cover.
Exactly.
Steve's got one too.
I think next week I'm
we
going.
are adults, it's like
guys-
we can actually party in our houses.
I know. It's
You kind of forget that sometimes.
I know. You don't
You always
Without your
feel like
parents being there?
you always feel like you got to go out to the garage or be outside and everything, but
Down to
no,
the beach.
Right.
I can just drink anywhere the fuck
Parents
I
are going
want.
to show up and send you down to the basement.
Yeah.
Next week I'm going to be in Phoenix. I'm going to Phoenix to buy a van.
Oh,
I'm going to Phoenix in 2 weeks.
I'll be
Well, just
Gone
missed you.
by
there
then.
on Tuesday. I'll be gone by
Not to
then.
buy a van. Not to buy a van.
drive it back.
Down by the river, no.
Anybody who knows me knows I move pretty fast.
River.
So yeah, I do these mad adventures every once in a while. Last time I drove a Ford F-150 from San Diego to Cleveland in 36 hours. And so this year I decided that I needed more van because I'm hauling more trailer and I'm buying more weird little Japanese cars. So I'm going to buy a Ford E350. And if you know anything about
Stroke?
what's that?
Does it have a power
No, it's not. I decided against the Power Stroke because they stopped making the Power Strokes in 2003. So if you want a real 7.3 liter Power Stroke, this is for all my diesel bros out there.
Bruh.
Yeah. If you want to roll coal with the best of them, you got to have a 7.3 Power Stroke, and they stopped doing that in 2003. And it's getting really hard to find a 7.3 Power Stroke that isn't rat fucked and like has 9 million miles on it and attacked by the cancer salt monsters.
Poke it in, dude.
Right,
Mine only has
exactly.
69,000 miles.
Well, yeah, this is the
Is that
point.
the ambulance?
The ambulance. So he's got a Power Stroke in his ambulance. But then the later Power Strokes, which weren't 7.3
6
liters,
are the bad ones.
yes,
But then the newer ones
the 6.8s,
are
okay.
good.
Yeah, they're okay.
But it was the 6 liters.
But if
I
you
had
get into a
problem, so-
6.8 liter, you're looking at spending about 20 large. And meanwhile, I'm in the 6.5 large classification.
That's
My
average.
new truck by 550
Yeah.
cost $65,000.
Damn.
Get the fuck
But it
out
has
of
a
here.
stainless steel dump bed.
Oh well, that makes
Doesn't care. That's more than I
Money
paid
is
for
no
my house.
object.
Biggest
for-
diesel
That's
engine
more than I
you've
pay
ever.
for all my cars
But that's
combined
not
for
your
my whole
truck.
life.
That's the
Yeah.
city's
It's not
truck.
mine. It's the city's truck.
Money, money, money.
It's not mine. I mean,
Stand
Steve
back and
Hoffert, money is no object.
stand back and
Over
listen to
there, I
that
have all
fucker
kinds
rot.
of trucks.
Oh my god.
We can put the fire in your truck now.
I just got a new Tahoe.
You could easily do that.
Oh my god.
It'd be very hot, though.
Yeah, I'm buying a nice Yoder toter. So I'm getting myself an E350 with all the seats and all the
16
benches.
What
Yeah.
engine does it have? You said a
5.8.
5.8. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
5.8.
better because the
Gasoline.
5.4s are the ones with the
Yeah.
plugs break off.
Yeah, we're good. No, they all do. All the Tritons do. So,
I like
yeah.
the 10-cylinder.
So the 10-cylinder, I was going to buy one of those for anybody who's paying attention.
They're gas guzzlers, but they're soft.
Okay, I was going to tell just the folks who are listening, the best.
You guys realize that Hoffert actually talked for like 14 seconds?
Well, but yeah.
Hey, he's well ahead of you.
Would anyone like to guess? Would anyone like to guess what the mileage is for an empty V10 Econoline van, empty, going down the road, blue sky scenario?
Downhill?
Sure, why not?
Wait, you mean gas mileage?
Gas mileage.
Yeah.
10.5.
Single digits.
I get 11 in mine.
9.
8.
I get 11 in mine. And
You're
it's
right.
250.
8.
Yeah.
So you're getting 8.
8.
Fuck yeah.
8.
Got
8.
him.
8 miles. 8 miles per
That's
gallon.
horrible.
8.
I haul
Out of the
sludge, I get
out of a
10 and half.
It's
V10.
horrendous.
But
With a V10, I get
exactly.
10 and a half.
So I looked at this V10 and I was like, V10. Oh, I like the sound of that. That's got my attention. It'll
If
pull
it was a Viper,
anything.
Turn the world.
It'll turn the world. And doing it with gas, you can get at any pump, right? I was like, okay, a low mileage, and I mean, this thing was like 29,000
Every
miles.
pump.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to go buy this V10. Fuck it. And then I saw what it would cost me to drive that V10 home from
my
Phoenix
God.
empty. Fuck that.
From Phoenix?
get
I
it
don't
shipped.
believe the 8 mile an hour. I don't
Damn.
believe
No, no,
It's
no,
10
no.
and a half.
Okay, so I didn't believe it either.
No way.
So I didn't believe it either. And I went on every fucking forum, and I went on Fuely, and the absolute nerd fucking hyper mileage assholes are getting 9.5.
Drafting on a Freightliner.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Going
don't know.
downhill
The
both
city's-
ways.
Have it
Every
taped.
vehicle I've been building for the
Have it
city is a
delivered.
Ford Triton V10.
No, I don't believe they don't do it. I think they do it. I think they'll do it forever. But I think they're going to do it at 9 miles per gallon or 8 miles per gallon forever.
Damn.
Because when the city's paying the gas bill, who gives a fuck?
Every one of our generators, we have generators
Yeah.
that are V10 powered Ford motors.
Oh, yeah.
That are meant to last
Oh,
forever.
I'm sure they do last forever, but they're thirsty.
Thirsty.
Yeah.
But
And
they're
so
running on natural gas.
I went with a nice,
that's
I went with a nice Triton V8 that's been in the supply chain for about 9 million years,
Yeah.
and I'll keep it, and it'll do its thing. But it's only got a handful of miles on it now.
Well, those are modular motors.
Yeah,
so
they
the,
are. Yeah.
The V6, the V8, and the V10 are all the same.
Yeah,
It's just a
they
matter
just
of
add cylinders.
just how many banks there are.
So what I realized was that all the other four-wheel bullshit vehicles I bought out there have all been bought with the intention of being frugal. My V6 Tundra is frugal. My V6 Ford F-150 is frugal. And Betty White, who was bought to replace Black Betty, Black Betty was a fierce E350 bitch. Betty White is not Black Betty. Betty White
a
is
gold
Betty
girl.
White. Yeah, she's a little more sedate.
Too soon.
She got the little motor. She got the
B.
little
Arthur,
V8.
maybe?
What's that?
B. Arthur?
No, we need a B. Arthur. I need a good B. Arthur.
Sophie?
No,
I need somebody in between,
Sophia?
right? Yeah. So Betty White doesn't do it. When I'm pulling the big trailer,
Whole harem.
when I take Kromke's trailer and I put a car in it, I try to drive it back over the mountains between.
The Great Divide.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Continental Divide.
When I try to go past anything west of Breezewood and I get anything resembling elevation, the V8 in the Ford Econoline 150 is not adequate. The brakes are not adequate. So you need an E350 because it's got the the adult-sized brakes and it's got the adult-sized motor and all that stuff, and it'll pull the trailer, no problem. Better suspension, better everything, right? But those things are $32,000 goddamn dollars.
American Freedom Units.
So that's when you got to look at somewhere like Arizona,
Right.
where you find one that's like 10 years old, or in this case, 8 years old, and has like 70,000 miles on it, and has been a Yoder toter its whole life. So it's never had anything resembling a trailer put anywhere near it, and you can buy that thing for $6,500.
Tough deals.
Well, it turns out I did look at some. This guy was particularly cagey that I bought it from. So his butt must have looked like a goddamn manhole because he was so reluctant to take my money because he'd been burned so many times by like Nigerian princes and whatever. So this cat, as soon as he found out I was going to fly into Phoenix, buy the thing and drive it home, he thought for sure I was a scammer.
Fucking scam.
Right. It's a fucking scam. It's got to be a fucking scam. So I literally had to overnight him.
$100 down payment.
No.
Then you're
PayPal.
going to give me your routing and account number.
Now I know you want $6,500 for your van, so I'm gonna send you a money order for $10,000.
Yeah, right.
So you just take $3,500 cash, give it to my driver when he picks the car up.
Right.
Yeah. So he'd been fucked before. So understandably, he was a little bit shy.
Clenchy.
Yes. And so
Just relax.
we had a really good conversation going back and forth about this whole van until I told him I was going to fly in from Cleveland to Phoenix, pick up the van, give him cash money, and drive it home. At which point he stopped talking to me. What? Because apparently somebody told him that was a warning sign.
Yeah, you said Cleveland.
Right.
And
I
he
didn't
lived-
say
You
Cleveland.
said Cleveland.
Nobody in Cleveland has $6,500 cash. So right
Lord
there.
knows where the fuck Arizona is.
So
Poor
here's what I
guy.
ended up
He's
doing.
probably still laying fetal somewhere.
So I had to stalk him and figure out where he was and actually who he was. So I totally stalked the shit out of him on Facebook. Found out he owned a computer repair company.
that didn't freak him out.
And then hunted him down on that phone number and said,
Yo,
dude, why you no
also,
talk
what
no
up?
more?
Right, yeah.
Like,
You no love me?
why you no love me no more? Because we had a really good conversation. We had a really good conversation
You
up
two
until
were
the
cool.
fact that like I was a legit buyer until I told him I'm flying in from Cleveland. I'm going to buy this thing and drive it home. And he was like, fuck, you're dead to me. Right? And so I did finally hunt him down and I
You're a
sent
hot
him.
dumpster fire.
Yeah, so I sent him a couple of text messages like, no, this is the guy from Cleveland. I'm not fucking around. I really want to buy your shit. And he,
How'd you get this number?
right, exactly. He's like, black
New phone, who
helicopters.
dis?
Yeah, right. Yeah, new business. Who dis?
I work for the NSA.
Never heard of an E350. Whatever. So I do get in touch with the guy and I'm like, no, I'm straight up for real. And he's like, how do I know you're for real? And I was like, well, okay, I don't know what I can do here, but type ClevelandMoto into anything. And I'm that. And he was like, oh, what? And I'm like, no, seriously. While I'm talking to you on the phone, type ClevelandMoto into anything and like listen to a video or whatever. You hear my voice. It's real. Why would I pretend to be ClevelandMoto? Why would I pretend to be a motorcycle
Who
shop?
gives a shit
It's a
about
good
Cleveland?
scam.
Exactly. Why would I
Yeah, like
pretend?
set up this whole shell corporation.
Why would I pretend to
I
be
have all these podcasts just
Yeah.
to get your.
to get your $6,500
Number two's coming along, you know.
But we're waiting for number one. So if you have a good idea, let us know.
We have been going out of business since 2001.
Yeah.
Why would I pretend to be this company?
That's so funny.
know?
Going out
And
of
I'm like,
business
I
since
picture it
2001.
was.
It's either you're legit or this is the greatest, longest running
This is the longest
scam in the
scam
history.
ever.
It's a long
Right.
I like to play the long
There's
game.
15 shells on this one.
And you're the one being scammed.
And you're paying.
And I'm gonna fuck myself before I fuck you.
Right.
So
You know how to make $1 million running a motorcycle shop?
start with $2 million.
Yeah, but
Did you ever watch the Dana Carvey show?
No.
Okay, so they have this skit where they go through a drive-through.
Yeah.
They order and then they pay for the food, and then they take off and they start
leave the phone?
laughing. And they start
They leave the
laughing
food behind?
because
Yeah.
no, they leave.
They leave the food.
Steve Carell. And,
Oh, yeah,
and,
So
We totally left him with the food.
the end result is this guy's so paranoid This guy's been so fucked.
That sucks. I feel
I
bad
cannot-
for this guy. That's bullshit.
Welcome to my world. I'll show you my Facebook Marketplace
just-
feedback sometime.
Twitchy McTwisherson.
So the end result is I basically get this guy, I'm like, look, what do I have to do to buy this van from you? Or more importantly, I'm going to be there on Tuesday. What do I have to do to prevent you from selling this van to somebody else before I get there?
That's a bad question.
Okay.
Because you
Dude
need
says
to know that the fucker's not going to be gone.
exactly.
By the
When I
time you-
fly out
you
there.
fly all the
You're
way
gonna fly
out
out there,
there.
right.
It ain't
I
just
drove
for
to
a
Columbus
vacation.
one time to buy a CB750. And when I got to Columbus, I saw the CB750 that I had PayPal to deposit for being loaded up a ramp into the back of another person's pickup truck.
What? This is a movie.
I'd take a poke at somebody. I would take
It
a
happens
poke at
all the
somebody.
goddamn time.
What?
Right.
Happens
It happens all the time. Again, and I parked my shit behind that guy's truck, and I was like, that truck's not getting out of this parking lot. Like, but anyway, different story.
Yeah.
So the guy says, I need cash. And so my buddy Mike Frankovich, there's this dude in California, North
Not Mike
Hollywood.
Frankovich.
No, Mike
What the guy
Frankovich.
didn't count on is
One, I am willing to take obscene risks. So Mike taught me this trick about taking a magazine and taping like $2,000 into the magazine, cash, and overnighting the cash to the guy, and then insuring the magazine for $2,000. It's real. You can do this. This is real.
this is a very
How
rare
much is the
edition
insurance?
of Mods versus Rockers.
$18. So here's the rule.
Nicole says,
If you ever want to show somebody the size of your
I'll
dick,
try to figure it out
Right.
later.
if you're ever in a negotiation and you need to be like, dude, I don't care, I got cash. The best way to show them you got cash is actually to show them you got cash.
Send the cash.
So what I did, I know it sounds silly and pedantic, but I literally took a picture of my cash. So I took a picture of my cash taped into this magazine, and then I sent via overnight mail $2,000 cash and did a tracking number and insured it for $2,000. And when the lady at the post office said, how much did you insure it for? I said, $2,000. And she said, what is it? And I said, federal notes.
Magazine.
federal notes. Good for you.
Federal
wants that.
notes.
Huh.
It's federal notes. And I sent $2,000 worth of federal notes.
Did you wait from a movie? How did you know this?
Again,
The friend of a friend of a
no,
friend?
not just a friend of a friend.
Sounds
This is
good,
my
yeah.
friend Mike Frankovich.
Phil has many,
And if you're in
many arrows in his quill.
if you're in if you're in LA and you want to go see a hell of a comic, my buddy Mike Frankovich is a comic in LA. And the reason he's such a good comic is because he ran a motorcycle/scooter shop in LA.
So he knows what a joke it is.
Exactly. So he knows funny when it hits him in the face.
Yep.
Because he tried to run a business in LA. So Mike's a fantastic guy, but he taught me that trick. And so I sent the guy $2,000 in a magazine, and it was insured. So fuck
If
it.
he didn't get it, he's getting it.
I'm getting
You're
it back,
getting it,
right?
right.
So it did show up today. It showed up. So today the money showed up, and I was like, okay, well you got my money. You know I'm legit. So he's like, and then he gave me the address to where the van is. So when I show up there Tuesday, I can go get the van.
Thank you. About
Did he read
fucking
the
time,
magazine?
guy.
I don't know, but it was. It was
the
like
magazine?
Dealer News. It's just it's an industry. It's an industry.
High life.
The guy's
High
busy,
life.
busy putting tape over where the rod came through.
Exactly.
Damn.
But so that's. I mean, that's that thing.
Who said it
So
is barely legal
I knew
or
what you meant.
something like that?
no. These I got these old ass. I got these crazy ass Twist and Go magazines from the '90s. So these
Think
Twist
more
and Go
like Pump and
magazines,
Dump.
they got naked girls in
That
them.
sounds very porn-like.
It's a scooter.
Twist
What's
and
it?
Go.
Twist and Go.
Yeah.
Pump
like
and dump.
twist and just.
I'll show you some. They're all about automatic transmission scooters, but so they can show how like edgy and cool they are to the young guys who don't want to be affiliated with Scootering magazine, which is like old stodgy fuckers like Oscar and I. So the Twist and Go magazine has boobs in it. So there's boobs in Twist and Go magazine.
Like real boobs?
Yeah, real boobs.
Or just
Well,
cleavage?
I'm going to say that
Real and
no. 50%
Side
of them.
boob, okay.
Side boob.
50% of them are as equipped. 50% of them are custom jobs. Yeah, real boobs. If I
Still
can touch
all
them,
boobs.
they're real.
Still all
custom
boobs.
boobs.
Real. So that's it. Does anybody got anything else? That was it.
no, we have like 3.5 hours or what is
No,
it?
2 hours and 42 minutes.
Okay,
barely even. Nah, fuck it. We're gonna cut all the fill parts out. And on that, remember everybody, ride fast and take chances. It turns out we can coexist. Oh, misfire! He got you!
I faked him
Oh,
out.
you faked him out? You had a dry chamber?
I knew it.
Oh, man. Just run at him hard with an empty gun.
Hold the camera up.
Are we literally all fighting with one fucking round? We're set.
I'm trying to catch one in my gun.
Got him!